Hey there, Middle Earth Strategy Battle Gamers. So we're here with a long overdue tournament review, kind of breakdown of the most recent tournament that me and Dan went to. Jason hosted it quite graciously. And today we're just going to talk about our games and break it down, because Jason did participate as well. So I guess we could start with me, since I did the worst. So we'll go from worst to best.
That's
Why
just
don't you get? Why don't you let Jason explain
Real fast, Jason. Why
the
don't you break
tournament?
down? Why don't you break down the tournament? Talk about the rule pack and kind of your thought process behind it.
all right. So, howdy guys, how's it going? It's been a while since I did an event. The last one was in February, so I wanted to do kind of like a small, just get together, local sort of event, and it was just going to be a straight up, player versus player. And then I had the idea of trying to do, um, like a team event, but not a doubles event because I wanted everybody to still be able to play like four individual games. So we did an escalation event a couple of years ago in Asheville, and I've always wanted to try a de-escalation or attrition event. So this was an opportunity that I figured, you know what, small group of folks, it's easy to keep up with the lists. We'll go ahead and do attrition. So I set it up and we did attrition starting at 700 points across 4 rounds, with the attrition rate being 100 points a round. So we ended up with the fourth round only being 400 points. There was no real, what would you say? No,
Like major restrictions.
there's no, thank you. That's what I was thinking. There's no real major restrictions. I did ban siege engines just to keep it, with a little even, because I feel like a siege engine, depending on what army you take, is either gonna completely bash an opponent or make it so that it's not even worth trying to play the game at all, especially at the lower points values. So that was the one restriction. Otherwise, the only other thing was obviously you couldn't take Smile because he doesn't fit at 600, 500, or 400 points.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit of gamesmanship with having to try and plan your lists, and I actually found it kind of hard personally to plan a list to go from 700 down to 400.
I did as
And
well.
I noticed that a lot of folks that had kind of similar issues as well. What did you guys find?
Yeah, I definitely did. For me, because I played my Rohan, and that's normally a list I'm comfortable playing at 800 points or even 700, 750, and I found it hard, especially once I got below 600 points. It really seemed like my list lost a lot of its potency.
Yeah, same here. So this tournament, I decided to take Lake Town spoilers, and um, I really wanted to play around with Gandalf in the list. I've tried using him before in a couple tournaments with Lake Town, and felt like it came up kind of short. But I was like, you know what? I feel like maybe I wasn't playing it right, or maybe I could improve on the way I was using Gandalf. And so going into this tournament, that was the big goal of mine. So I kept Gandalf in each iteration of the list,
Yeah.
and so later on that hurt my numbers. Um, and I feel like with Lake Town, having that number advantage in the first 2 rounds was key. And then the last 2 rounds, especially the third round, it really hurt my performance.
Yeah,
Really did enjoy Gandalf though.
that makes sense.
I I did notice that when I was looking at lists, players who were taking, I would say, larger pieces, like a Gandalf, like we had a guy play with Watch on the Water. We had a guy play with the new Dragon Emperor for the Easterlings. So
Hmm.
those big pieces really kind of hamstrung their armies at the 500 and especially the 400 point level. So Dan, you experienced that. Joe, well, you don't have super expensive heroes. Your troops are, quote unquote
Yeah.
elite, being all mounted, and that was something that I also saw was armies that played with elite units had that issue also. There was one guy who played Everett. He played with Farharad. No, not Farharad. I'm sorry,
Serpent Horde.
Serpent Horde.
Hmm.
Yeah, Serpent Horde in Mordor, and he had a bunch of mounted guys. And so by the time we played in round 4, because he and I played round 4, um, he was down only 12 models, and I was sitting at like 30 something. So yeah, folks who played the cheaper units, I think. Well, not even the cheaper units. I think most folks were at low points or low model count at 400 points.
Yeah, it seemed
So
like this event, like Dan was the only one, and well, you were as well, playing an army that was capable of fielding a pretty good amount of troops in it. Yours was pretty much perfectly built for being able to carry a lot of troops, and no matter the points value. Dan's he just didn't do that with his build.
Also, the goblins, Moria.
Yeah, but again, his build, he
Yeah,
took
his
the
build
lead.
was yeah.
But it's kind of a thing. Cause I remember when the new rule set came out, they were doing their little spiel talking about it. And I remember them saying like big heroes were going to be a big part in this like edition of the rules, and that they kind of were playtesting it around 1,000 points. I want to say I remember them throwing 1,000 points out. Because even really
Yeah.
before that, we never really saw 1,000 point Middle Earth game.
no, you really didn't.
But yeah, I had fun. I thought it was a good event. I did like the team aspect too. There was everyone was playing as a team in a doubles kind of format.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, it wasn't so much a doubles event where you're playing 4 people at table 2v2.
Mm.
You were just playing that your final score depended on not only how you did, but how your partner did as well.
Yeah.
So that was, I think everybody actually really enjoyed that. I think that was probably the more preferred. It seems kind of like folks didn't mind the attrition, but if they had a choice, they would definitely go with the teams over attrition again.
Yeah, because I remember we went to Philly, the Historicon tournament.
Yep, in 2019.
Yeah, and I remember I really liked that doubles aspect as well there too. It's cool when you play as a team, because if you both, like if you tie a bunch in an event where you're solo scored, or you may or may not have a high VP, win or whatever, like a major win, you could still place if your partner does good that round as well. So yeah, I do like that.
Yeah, there were a lot of ties too. There were, I want to say 6 ties. Looking at the overall score, so that would be 3 games that had ties in them,
Mm-hmm.
if I remember correctly. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're having 12 players, 6 games across 4 out of 24, so 3 out of 24, that's an eighth of the games resulted in ties. That's a pretty good percentage of them just being straight up, hey, neither one of us was the best of the best. We both played really well, and it ended up being this is where we were with ties.
Right.
So
Yeah. It seemed like I don't know what we'll talk about in a minute, but I'd like to talk about your partner's build too, because he was playing high elves, and he didn't lose any of his rounds, right?
no, he went 4-0. He was playing actually a Last Alliance combo. He had um, Numenor. It was Last Alliance, Numenor and Rivendell, and he took Isildur was his leader.
Yeah.
That was his big piece. And I believe he had Aristor. I know he had Aristor.
Yeah.
And then I believe he had a mounted um, high elf captain.
Yeah.
And so
That's a good pick.
his whole thing was to have the the strength 4 spear support from Numenor, and then have the mobility with the elves. So the captain's obviously fight 6, so he's going to take on any fight 5 or lower heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, that's pretty much all 3 of our armies were fight 5 heroes. And then he had the ability to have a defense 6 front line that had fight 5 for troops. So he was forcing you to hopefully, if it came down to a 50-50 roll-off against, fight 5 heroes, he then had a 66% chance of winning with the elven-made weapons. So he had a very good build.
Yeah, I think that so there's like a tangent I want to go off into before we actually talk about your event, but I actually think that elves are going to be popular. Like that's kind of like one of the things I want to talk about. Because like so before your event, me and Dan did travel to Fords of the Potomac 5, I want to say, the weekend before. It's like the first time in a really long time, maybe ever, that I've actually gone to 2 MESVG tournaments 2 weekends in a row. And I noticed it there too. It seems like that the kind of lists people are taking are a lot of fight 5, a lot but fight 6 heroes, and just like fight 5 troops seems to be a very popular thing at the moment. Because like last edition, fight 4 troops, that was kind of the meta. Like if you took fight 4 troops, you had a pretty good list. It seems like now between these two events, especially with that, because both events there was guys playing the new Legendary Legion for Easterlings, and both of them had the Emperor, of course, and pretty much similar builds. I mean, I think Evan was taking the Shaman, and the guy at the tournament in Fords was taking. He was not taking the Shaman. He was taking more martial heroes. But it just seems like some of the lists that I've been seeing, like a list with all half trolls or the Beornings, because Beornings are virtually the same as the half trolls, is you're going to start seeing a lot of fight 5 troops in events. So if you're going to go to an event, anticipate that. And that was one of the things that I found both events was pretty troublesome with my Rohan. Having to heroic strike against stuff instead of doing that heroic combat really hampered my list's ability. But that's just something I noticed between the two events. It seems like elves are going to be popular because you got the fight 5 troops, and they also have the elven-made weapons, so they have a better chance of beating other fight 5 troops or fight 5 heroes in a fight.
Yeah, and then the new Easterling guys. What is it, like a 6-inch bubble, if I remember right?
Yeah, 6-inch fight bonus. So
Yeah, so I mean, and that's not even like you can get to fight 5 with your troops being the Royal Guards, but it's contingent upon you getting the charge off. Where these guys are just okay, I'm straight up fight 5, as long as I'm within 6 inches
yeah,
of the Dragon Emperor. Or if you're playing with elves, they're just fight 5 base. So I mean, fight 4 has been the meta though since the new edition came out. So it's been 4 years. The new edition came out, Labor Day, September of 18. It's been 4 years.
yep,
Folks are starting to find ways around that, and of course these new models are also kind of pushing that. I mean, it
yeah,
seems like this Dragon Emperor is definitely pushing a fight 5 meta or something where you can find a way to get fight 5. I mean,
yeah.
even Fiefdoms have had that for a while though as well on a smaller scale because Immerhill's bubble's only
3-inch.
3 inches. Yeah, but when I played Fiefdoms and I had that fight 5 bubble, it was just like, dude, I threw a 6. It's me. It's all me. There's nothing you can do about it. And I mean, there were several games where I would literally just put Immerhill behind the line and just let the higher fight value do it. You stack them 3 deep with the pikes from the men at arms. 3 dice to get a 6 with a banner reroll from Immerhill sitting right there. You got 4 dice to get a 6. It's very likely for you to get that unless you're just having a really bad day, and then
Yeah,
you're just hoping to get some more 6s to wound.
yeah. It's but I think that the Defense of the North supplement that came out earlier this year, I think that supplement single-handedly is gonna push the meta to 5. Because um, 2 of the main armies, so the Beornings and the Easterlings, they're basic troops, and Beornings are just fight 5 base. That's their regular stat, and they're like literally half troll. And then
Yeah, they're expensive, but they have that. They're expensive for it though.
yeah, and then the Easterlings, because you can take 18 of them, including Cataphracts, with the Emperor, and in that Legendary Legion, everyone gets that for free, the Black Dragon upgrade, and you can
Yeah.
stack a pretty good amount of troops because that model has a big base, so you could stack up quite a bit of troops in that 6-inch bubble.
So the other thing that goes with that, it's not just the Dragon Emperor who gets it, but also the Black Dragon Knights can take
Yep.
upgrades for free as well.
Yep.
So they're minor heroes, so they're only leading 6, but 6 guys with a free upgrade. That's 12 points because it's a 2-point upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about a fight 4 and a courage 4 guy for free.
So think about it this way: Easterlings were a popular army before. A lot of people had Easterling armies; they just didn't play them a lot because they were not very good.
Case in point, myself.
And I know like a lot of people said, hey, if Easterlings get some treatment, I'll take them out. And now that they've gotten this treatment, I do feel like probably I'm gonna use this as an example. Probably Nova next year. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw like 5 or 6, maybe even 7 or 8 Easterling armies with the Dragon Emperor. I think the Dragon Emperor is gonna be the key in making that list.
I think right now too, if you go to a large event, and I'm classifying a larger event as 20 or more people, I would be extremely surprised to see if you did not see at least 2 Easterling armies in a
I agree.
larger event of 20 plus
Well,
people.
Beornings too, because I've seen like, especially on the Great British Hobbit League, I've seen quite a few people like posting pics the last few days of their Beorning painting project they're doing. So I just think that those 2 lists are going to alter it. Like for me, and I'll start talking about the tournament now. Well, this is a tangent. So all right. So anyway, so
It's all good.
yeah. So round
I
1.
like it. It's good content.
Yeah. So round 1. So I also too I like this format. Each of us rolled, and we had to pick a pool. Or sorry, there was a pool that was already selected for this.
Yeah, I
Round.
predetermined them.
So you predetermined a pool, and then each of us had to roll a dice and eliminate a scenario out of that pool. So for instance, round 1 was an objective scenario, and I was versing Khand.
Hold objective scenarios.
Hold objective scenarios. I was versing Khand, and I decided I'm going to get rid of capture and control, so he can't just take his objectives and then just roll into my army. And then he got rid of we played domination. I don't remember what the other one is in that, but capture and control I eliminated, and he eliminated the other one. Breakthrough, yeah.
Yeah, breakthrough.
So versing Khand, he had a lot of chariots on his list, a lot of impact hits, and I sat back, and I knew I had the mobility, so if I needed to, I can get to the other side of the board pretty fast. So I deployed back, round 1, and I was close enough. He got priority. He shifted his chariots around and stuff, and then I decided I'm gonna go and charge. So I charged his line, his cav, and charged him. Nothing happened really in shooting. I think he killed a horse for a rider or something like that. I didn't do anything with my shooting. But then I charged in, I called death, and I put a pretty big hurting on him. Not as bad as I normally do. Like, it's kind of weird because normally death I can do a lot of damage in a turn. But again, this is one of those things where I found myself having to strike against heroes. Or, like, because I charged his king to stop him from moving. No, that was the next one. Sorry. So I called death. And I did kill like 3 or 4 guys. When you're not charging infantry, your charges aren't as devastating. You're not able to kill 4 guys in a turn. You can kill maybe 2. So I did put a pretty big hurt on him. The first 2 turns of combat, I did hurt him pretty bad in terms of his list. And basically, we just kept moving. He killed a few guys in impact hits. His impact hits didn't do much the first part of the game. But really, it gets interesting in the last 2 turns of the game. So the second to last turn of the game, I thought I had the game in the bag. Like, I was like, oh, this is going to be an easy win for me, because he was broken at this point. I was not. My leader was behind his chariot, who was locked in combat. And I had Dernhelm on his back objective. And I knew Dernhelm wouldn't flee, and even if he shot Dernhelm's horse out from under her, I knew her and Mary would be able to hold that objective no problem. So the last turn of the game comes up. He gets priority. He was able to move his chariot out of the way and then charge his Khandish king into Theoden, who had no might left. And from there, my 2 riders of Rohan that were contesting one of the center objectives failed to kill the guy that was holding it. Théoden, who was contesting the other objective, lost the fight and died, and then he was able to get guys around my objective, and I had no one left to defend it. So, in the last turn of the game, I went from probably having a major win to having it was a minor loss. So we were both broken. He killed Théoden, and we held the same amount of objectives. So he got the VPs for killing Théoden, basically. If Théoden had survived, it would have been a tie. Yeah. So, but it was a good game. I versed a lot of impact hits before, and I kind of wasn't figuring Khand to do a lot against me, needing 5s to wound me. But in that last turn, he killed like 5 or 6 troops just with impact hits. I did kill 2 of his charioteers, the 2 troops he had, but his heroes were pretty much untouched.
Yeah, I think it's funny because you and I have played a few times, and I've pulled out a couple of con chariots, and my con chariots never really did much. You would think that, hey, if I'm rolling into a rider, hitting it with 2 impact hits, that's 2 hits on the horse, 2 hits on the rider. It always seemed to fail to do something.
Yeah, it's strange because it failed to do a lot for him. Like I said, like until the last 2 turns of the game, he didn't do a lot with impact hits. Like he didn't kill a lot of stuff. And then there came a point in time, like I said, I was like, oh, this game's in the bag for me. But it just came like a really good turn of impact hits, killing, and then killing the guys in combat that they were fighting. To where I was like,
wow.
Yeah, so it was
You
just...
let your foot off the gas, bro.
Well, that and I
got it in the bag.
that and the lack of might, because I did... So I did have to burn a lot of might, actually. That was the problem. When I called death, I did have to burn might to actually move on and kill guys. And then later in the game, it affected me being able to call my heroic moves, which was
that makes sense.
Which was a problem I had. I don't want to say it was consistent the event before. I ran out of might pretty fast, and then this round I ran out of might pretty fast. So that was round 1. It was a minor loss to Khand, a very chariot heavy Khand list.
Yeah.
We'll
go round robin? We'll go round robin?
Sure.
But everybody talk about round 1?
Yeah. Dan, do you want to talk about your round
1? Sure.
Since we all kind of made, since we all possibly played a different scenario for each round because of the way that I set the rounds up.
Yeah. So I was playing my Lake Town. Had Bard and Percy, Gandalf, Bard's 2 daughters, and Alfred. And versed the infamous Easterlings with the Black Dragon Emperor. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be a tough game because the Black Dragon Emperor is scary. He had a pretty good maul count at defense 6. He's out fighting me. My keys to victory were I had more shooting than he did. I did have magic, and I did have Bard, who can, I would say, overperform majority of the time at this point cost. So we played the objective, hold objective pool. I decided, I was like, okay, so here's the strengths of his army is he had some cavalry. So I don't want to play an objective scenario that requires the objectives being spread out. So that'd be breakthrough and what's the other one? What's the other scenario? Breakthrough and what's the other one, guys? Domination and
capture and control.
Yeah, capture and control. And capture and control is like, okay, I was like, probably my best bet would be to play domination. So how it works is that you each roll the dice, and whoever rolled the lowest could pick to eliminate one of the scenarios, and then the person who rolled the highest ultimately picks the scenario. and Evan rolled the lowest, and I rolled the lowest. I'm sorry. No, yeah, he rolled the lowest, and I think he got rid of breakthrough. And so knowing that he had cavalry and with capture control, the objectives could be more spread out. I decided to play domination so that I could place my objectives kind of behind my army and then go for the center objective, and then that'd be my triangle of objectives.
That's a
and
smart plan. It's a smart plan.
yeah,
Just use your numbers and Gandalf and Bard on the edges to maybe fight off troops or whatever. But yeah, it's a solid plan.
yeah, and that's actually one of the things I liked about this tournament was that with the pool system is you literally could um, beat an opponent if you pick the correct scenario, and that happened to me later in the tournament as well.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, you could eliminate scenarios that would make it so that you shouldn't even bother to put your dice on the table because they're just going to mop you. Like you wouldn't want to fight with say Isengard and you had Saruman as your leader, or Minas Tirith with Denethor as your leader. You wouldn't really want to play what is it? Contest of Champions. So I thought it was a good way to remove scenarios that would end up causing you to basically lose the game before the game even started.
Yeah. So we played domination. First turn, he deployed right in the center. I deployed a little bit back, which was not a good idea because my goal was to get that center objective. But I was like, I could outshoot him, and I need to try to whittle down some of his numbers before we do anything. And I'd also like to see where he's moving his cavalry and see if I could use Gandalf to disrupt that. So first turn, he charges his cavalry up. He has his Black Dragon dude. I forgot their name. They're the Zero Will guys.
Oh, the Black Dragon Knights.
Yeah, the Black Dragon Knights.
No fate. Yeah.
Yep. He deployed. He moved him up. And I said, good. All right. So the Black Dragon moved up. And he moved his Black Dragon in front of 2 additional riders.
Yeah.
And so I was okay. This is my chance. So I Sorcerer's Blasted the Dragon Knight with Gandalf.
Yeah.
And he flew directly back into 2 additional guys, dismounted both of them, and dismounted the Dragon Knight.
Real quick before I know someone in the comments will say something about the rules saying you stop at the first model. These models were side by side, right?
Yeah. So it hit both of them. Mm-hmm. And I questioned it, and Evan's like, "No, that's how we're going to play it." So if my opponent's going to say that, then I'm not going to disagree.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because I actually played Evan in round 2, and if he was running his cataphracts like he was against me, he had him in that little triangle formation in order to get the
bonus.
Glittering Ward.
Yeah.
To get the defense bonus. So it would make sense that you would be going straight back into 2 models evenly because you're already in base contact with 2 models.
Yep.
Correct. Yeah. So killed 1 knight off that, and the Dragon Knight took a wound.
That's pretty
and then,
that's a good deal.
Yeah, it is. I was like, oh, okay, that's off to a good start. And he's like, well, I learned my lesson. And I actually think I killed a couple guys with Bard. I was targeting his little ninja guys.
Oh, the Acolytes?
Oh, the Acolytes, yeah.
I was targeting little Acolytes with Bard, trying to kill them.
They're
only defense 4.
Yeah.
And then, really, I was, majority of my shooting went into the shield wall. Because that's where I was actually targeting his pikes, or his spears. Next round, I got priority and blasted his Dragon Knight again into 2 more riders.
Didn't learn the lesson.
He didn't learn. He didn't have a chance to move because I got priority.
Oh
and
yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
so I think I killed another rider and blasted the Dragon Knight that farther away from my line. And then I had another turn to shoot. I think I killed a couple acolytes with Bard and shooting all together. Next turn though, he got the charge off. He had his Dragon Knight Emperor behind his pike line, which I was happy about because
Yeah. He wouldn't
he's
be
not up
fighting.
there fighting my fishermen.
Yep.
But that being said, Gandalf was with a majority of my army, and then there was a building, and then Bard's Warband, which was I think full 18, was on the other side of the building fighting a small section of his warband.
Yeah.
So Gandalf was going against that fight 5 troops,
Hmm.
and even though he has Glambering, uh, I was okay. I got the bonus there, so I actually started charging with Gandalf, and Percy was pretty much it was based on luck because he didn't have strike.
He's
Um,
using his 2 attacks.
yeah, yeah, 2 attacks um, and at this point I had guys next to both of my objectives. He didn't hold any of his objectives, and including the center objective. So I was like, okay, this is good because every turn that goes by, his army is going to get further and further away from his 2 objectives. And I've seen it happen before where people forget the actual objective of the game and just go on for a killing rampage, and you win a 12-0 victory because your opponent wasn't holding his objectives.
Yep.
Um, so I started doing heroic combats with Bard and killing a lot of guys, and eventually he shifted the king in between both sections,
Hmm.
and he was getting fight 5 with his guys, but I had Bard within 6 inches of both the girls, so I was getting my free heroic combat, and I was also getting my fight 6. So Bard didn't really care about it too much. A majority of my shield wall was in Bard's 12-inch banner range, which was good. I think he had a banner with his Dragon Knight Emperor as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
And I
that
think,
I think that the Panikin or whatever is a 6-inch banner.
Yeah.
yeah,
12-inch.
No, 12-inch. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah. His fight value thing's 6.
yeah,
That's
he
it.
has a,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think by turn 4, he started to realize that he wasn't holding up his objective, so he started to move guys back.
Yeah.
I had a lot of reserves sitting in the back, which I had started moving on the left to grab his left objective and hopefully the center objective. That was my goal. I think he saw that and moved his 2 remaining
Yeah.
cavalry guys back so he could countercharge me and hopefully wipe out that flank of guys come and take his objectives.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember seeing that because I walked by after our game was done. I remember seeing your guys kind of sneaking up on the flank there.
Yeah. Pretty much a lot of kicking in the shins. Bar didn't take a wound. His Black Dragon Emperor didn't take a wound. I think he was only in like 1 combat.
Yeah. He definitely. I noticed he played him pretty passive.
Yeah, which I think if he was more aggressive with him, he probably would have won.
Yeah.
But
He's pretty scary.
Gandalf performed well for me that game. I just was doing some immobilizes, and I think I did those first 2 blasts, and that was it.
It sounds pretty effective though.
Oh yeah, no, that was probably what won me the game, honestly. Because if you had all those cavalry guys at
He
his
would have run over you.
disposal,
It would
he
have
would
hurt.
have ran over me and gone past my army and gone right to my objectives.
Yeah. It would have hurt.
But pretty much skipping to the end, there was a lot of kicking in the shins. I had both of my objectives, which he was contesting. He'd pushed me back enough with his acolytes, believe it or not. Killed one of the girls. Last turn of the game, killed the girl, so it didn't really matter. And
You let the girl die. Way to go.
Yeah, I did. I had actually ran 2 guys and was contesting his objective and had more guys in range of it, so I was holding it, but I only got the 1 VP or whatever it was.
Yep.
And then I ran some guys to the center, and that was nullified completely. Another one of those got VPs. So he was contesting one of my objectives. I was contesting one of his objectives. We both held an objective, and then the center was completely nullified.
Yeah.
And then we each broke each other. So, actually, I don't think we did break each other. So it was like, and then this tournament, you get a extra victory point, bonus VP if your army's painted.
Yep.
So I think we ended up in a 5-5 draw in the first round.
Yeah.
Which I was happy with, considering it was Easterlings with the Black Dragon Emperor.
Yeah, I would have had I had a painting bonus too. I forgot to mention that. The VP. So did David.
So, all right, Jason, it's all you, man.
So I'll keep mine brief because my first game actually got recorded and is a battle report that's currently live on my channel. So if you want to see what fully happened, head over there.
Well,
but I'll give you the clip.
Give a shout out real fast. What's your channel's name?
Jeeping Scholar.
Jeeping Scholar. So
yes.
Anyone wants to check that out, they can go to the Jeeping Scholar.
Free plug. I gave you guys one on my video today. Haha, there we go.
Nice.
Fair trade-off. So I played against Todd in round 1, and he was playing Halls of Thranduil.
Mm-hmm.
Re-rolled for the scenario. I believe I rolled lower. I don't think I actually won any of the rolls all day when it came to getting to basically quote-unquote pick the scenario.
Yeah.
But it didn't really matter. I'm not going to complain about that, as we'll discover.
Mm-hmm.
But I eliminated domination because my army didn't have a lot of mobility, and he was playing Halls of Thranduil with both Legolas and Thranduil mounted.
Did he have towers?
So I got rid of them. No, only 2 heroes.
Okay.
Only 2 heroes. Yeah. Because as he eliminated and went down, he was sacking troops over sacking the heroes.
Okay. Yeah, that's sounds like a viable way to play that list too. I played Derek against it when the armies of the Hobbit first came out. You just get a hoard a lot of elves in the list. I think it's a pretty good way to play him.
Yeah, I think he could have probably maybe optimized it a little bit more, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't bad. So he had Legolas, he had Thranduil. Thranduil was totally, kitted out.
Yeah.
Elk, crown, all that stuff.
All the goodness.
Yep. And then he had a few sentinels, a few rangers, and then just a lot of troops. So I think his model count was like 31, and mine was 43.
Okay.
So I had 4 warbands to deploy to his 2.
Mm-hmm.
I deployed first, so I deployed. We ended up playing Breakthrough. I guess I should talk about the scenario. Yeah, I got rid of domination. He got rid of capture and control, so we were playing Breakthrough, which is the one with 2 objectives on the center line and then 2 objectives in the back 12. And you're trying to push through to your opponent's side and grab the back objective.
Mm-hmm.
So he put 1 warband on one. I put my first warband to one side. He put his warband to counter it. I put my second warband on the same side, and then he put his second warband pretty much on the line because it's a 24-inch deployment range.
Yeah.
On the opposite side, so I deployed my last 2 warbands across from him, and it was the warband that only had Legolas in it as the leader. So I can take Legolas on because I was playing the Legendary Legion of Assault on Helm's Deep. So without taking a ballista per my own rules, I just had a horde of fight 4, strength 4, defense 6 guys for the most part. So first turn, I went ahead and just kind of charged right into his line on the one side. The other I kind of shuffled around. Took a few pot shots. I don't think I got any hits or kills. Combats, I was hoping they would go my way in the first turn because I had basically pulled 2 or 3 of his guys and was stacked up with pike support and everything. But he rolled that magic 6 with the fight value that we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
And was winning. So then the next turn he moves and he sends Thranduil and Legolas over to that side. So my 2 captains, including my leader, the Uruk-hai commander dude, are vastly, outgunned by Legolas and Thranduil.
Yeah. Child's play. Clearly.
Yeah. He does. I did have the numbers advantage. Unfortunately, though, his Sentinels started kind of wrecking me. He did a few courage checks on my pike blocks on the middle pike.
Oh, yeah.
And I've passed a few of them on the early game, in the early go, but then there was one turn where I failed like every courage check with him, and it went from being a opportunity to me to have a 3-on-2 to me having to shield in a 2-on-2, and his fight 6 or fight 5 taking the day. When I did win, I was killing because I had like 4 or 5 berserkers over there, and those were the guys I was leaning on. I was leaning on them with pikes to definitely get the wins, and when I did win, I did kill because I was winning everything of his on 5s. So Legolas and Thranduil spent a lot of might. They spent almost all their might early doing heroic movements and heroic combats because I was getting some priorities. And I figured, you know what? My heroes aren't going to do anything when it comes to combat, so I will force him to burn might to do heroic movements. So I kind of did that with both of my heroes, just burn their might straight up, going for heroic moves to force him to burn his. And it paid off because by about the third turn of the game, he was down to 1 point of might left, and then he burned that one later on. So that little area was really a kick in the shins thing, and I had snuck a few crossbows around the backside of a terrain piece to go start moving towards his back objective marker, and by the time he thought. So there came a point where both of us actually thought that he had won that side. So he sent Legolas across the middle of the board to go help the other side, which I had pushed up on and was pushing for the center objective. And then he sent Thranduil after my objective. But I had kind of played it, a little cheeky, where we were swapping shots between his rangers and sentinels and my 3 or 4 crossbows back there.
Who won the shooting? I'm kind of curious on that one.
Definitely him. My shooting just didn't really hit.
Yeah, you probably didn't have enough of it. Probably like, would you have like 6 crossbows or something?
I had 8. No, I had 9. At 700, I had 9 of them.
Yeah,
it was just a matter of I'm hitting on 4s, he's hitting on 3s.
Yeah, and you're both You do wound him on his rangers on 4s, but his bows wounding you on 5s actually hurts
Yeah. Bad. So, and it's not like either of us got a lot of clutch kills or anything, because I think he got maybe 1, maybe 2 kills in shooting. Yeah. I might have gotten 1 or 2. Actually, I think I got like 2 the first turn. So, there wasn't a whole lot of kills when it came to shooting. This was not my shooting game. This was definitely my strategy game when it came to playing it. Because when he sent Thranduil towards the middle, towards the back to grab my objective, I took my guys that were left and just spread them out. So he was out of might, so he could only fight and kill 1 guy a turn.
No, that's smart.
And then I just kind of surrounded my objective and slowly pushed him away. Long story short, the side that he had sent Legolas and Thranduil from, that he thought he was going to be able to win, I took all but 2 of my guys that I'd been sending to the back objective that had snuck around the terrain, and they came back, which gave me the numbers advantage, and so I was able to actually force basically a one-on-one across the board on that side. And so when the game ended, we literally had even numbers on that objective, so that was a push. And then on the right side, centerline objective, I vastly outnumbered him. And even though there was a couple turns there where I called heroic combats with my captain and a whole bunch of guys, so I was stacking like 8, 9 dice. And I was like, I'm against 1 guy, even if he shields, it's a low percentage for him to get the 6, and he would roll and get the 6. So I lost both points of might with 1 captain trying to push through and really break that flank.
Did he have a banner in his list?
He did, and it was on that side.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
I was trying to break through that one guy on the edge so I could get to the banner on the backside. So a shielding guy with a banner, in 2 turns he threw 6s,
Wow.
and then won the 66-33 roll-off both times.
Huh. Okay.
So I finally did break through, though. I did break through, and I got in. And then I started sending a few guys back to help tie up Thranduil even more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that game ends at a quarter.
Yeah.
No,
Maybe.
yeah.
I have your book. I can look. No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You stole it, you thief.
No. No, it's actually my gaming bag. I was gonna bring it this time.
Actually, I'm the one that stole it.
Damn, you can.
Yeah, you let me borrow it, and
Yeah.
I had all my stuff in that last round, and I just threw it all in my bag, including your book.
Man, what am I gonna do with you guys?
Come on, Dan.
I think we actually ran out of time. I can't remember exactly how the game ended. I just remember that it ended, and I had kept them away from my back objective.
Mhm.
We were a push on the left side center objective. We were a push on the back objective.
Mhm.
No, I'm sorry. I had a guy around my objective. He had a guy around his. So we both owned our own objectives, which I think is only like 1 point.
Yeah, it
And
is.
then,
It is.
and then I completely owned the right side objective, which got me 3 points. But he had killed my leader, but I had broken him and been unbroken. So the big thing that made it was the fact that I broke him and was unbroken, and that was, the difference between a win and a loss.
Mm-hmm.
Because killing the leader in that scenario is 2 victory points, where breaking and being unbroken is 3. That's one of those weird scenarios where it's one of the few times that it's that way.
Yeah, I remember reading because we play tested it the week before, and then I versed David in it because I versed him in breakthrough, and I was kind of surprised on the VPs.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a 5-4 score, and then with our painting bonuses, it was a 6-5 minor victory to me.
Okay. So it was
pretty close game.
Yeah, that's a pretty smart tactic actually. The Sentinels making your pikes go away. I never thought about that. Like,
it's brilliant. Yeah.
So I lost my round 1. You and Dan both, or sorry, Dan tied, and then you won your round 1.
Yeah. So we're literally 1-1-1 across the 3 of us.
Yeah, and I think if I was playing another army, I probably could have beat Dave. Like if I was playing a list with a higher, it's not. If I was playing a list with stronger heroes in it, or perhaps but between these 2 tournaments, because you all know I love the Riders of Thade and Legendary Legion. That's like my jam. I've taken it out quite a bit, but this tournament really tested, or this tournament and the tournament prior, the weekend before, really tested Thaden both times, and it's just like that last round, man, when he got murked by the king. I was like, if I had any other hero legend on my list right now, even Helm Hammerhand, he would have been able to potentially make missing at him. But yeah, so that's our round 1s. Round 2.
I will interject if you don't mind. That's always been Thaden's weakness.
The
Riders of Thaden is a great list, I think.
I agree.
I think this event it really didn't help you going down each time, because every time you go down, you kind of have to reevaluate what your model is going to do. Some people are really meticulous, and like every model they put into a list, they have a specific goal. But when you're going from 700 to 600 to 500 to 400, rapid like that, you're not really having a chance to. You're kind of getting an idea. It's like, okay, I have an idea of what my models need to do, but I also need to get to this point threshold. And
right.
I like the attrition thing. I really did. I thought it was a good way to test folks, but it definitely exposed some armies and some weaknesses to some armies. I definitely think the hoardier armies, or the very low cost troop and low cost heroes. My heroes are 65 points.
Mm-hmm.
my troops are 9 points. That kind of lets you get good numbers in there. 43 models at 700 points is pretty darn good, and I think there was only one army there, or Dan's might have as well. So that outmodeled me at 700.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think I had 40, around
He got
43.
46.
Yeah, it was like mid 40s.
Yeah,
and you had two big heroes in your list too.
But if we did verse, you have the better troops.
Yeah.
this is true. But look what you did with. You played good. You played against good heroes, and look what you did with your big heroes. So even if I have better troops, your bigger heroes were able to negate
Yeah,
the better troops
exactly.
of of the Easterlings.
Yep.
Plus, two is I want to kind of briefly talk about this is magic. I still think, even though like quote unquote got nerfed, and I think rightfully so got nerfed, but it still has a big place in an army because like I took Isengard out to
Yes.
2 years ago or a year ago whenever we went to the South Carolina the Greenville event. I took Saruman.
That was last September.
Yeah, some of the stuff he was doing like on the table was like, man, I'm so glad I have magic right now. So I still think it has a big place, especially. I mean, Sorcerer's Blast, even though it stops at the first model now, it still has a huge place in the game. It's like,
Well, it's a strength 6 initial hit, isn't it? If I remember correctly.
it's
Five.
five. It's
Strength 5.
five.
Yeah.
Okay, well, even strength 5 against a defense 7 model, you're wounding on 5s.
Yep.
So a lower defense army like you know Rohan, Riders of Rohan, your army's defense 5 when it comes to riders. Lake Town, your army's defense 5 when it comes to your troops. Bard's defense 5. You've got a good chance of getting a wound there on a 4. And even if you don't wound, you've knocked the guy prone and dismounted him. So
Taking him out.
even if you don't kill somebody, just look at what you can take away in terms of resources. Dan threw one guy into 2 and 3 mounted guys with armored horses. That's 8 points an armored horse. That's 24 points he just took off the board.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he didn't get any kills, and I know he got a couple. He got a kill and a wound. Even if he didn't do either of those 2 wounds, just taking away 24 points, and then the number of dice that get taken away as well. It's nice. It's nice to have that.
Yeah. It can still handicap what your opponent does that turn. So even if you just transfix a hero, is like, hey, he's not doing anything this turn, so I don't have to worry about feeding him a troop or doing whatever.
And that can be big.
Mm-hmm. So going on into round 2 though. So round 2 was kill scenarios, right?
Kill the enemy scenarios.
Kill the enemy, and we played to the death. So I was versing Ashley, right? Ashley Parrish?
Yeah, Ashley.
Yeah.
Yep, that's Josh's wife.
Yeah, so I versed her in. So she eliminated Lords of Battle, I think. And I eliminated.
Contest of Champions, I believe.
Yeah, I eliminated Contest of Champions because I didn't want Théoden going up head to head with that Birders.
Yeah, she was playing Ingmar with
Birders.
The troll. Yeah, Birder or whatever his name.
She had
troll.
Birders and 2 Barrow Whites. Those were her heroes.
Yeah.
So
you would have had Théoden trying to match kills with a troll.
Yeah. So anyhow, I deployed back, shot at her a little bit, didn't do a whole lot. Then I did move into combat against her, and when I did, it was pretty brutal. So I did charge Birders of Aemir. I charged Théoden in, and I charged Dernhelm behind her line. She actually paralyzed Dernhelm with one of the ring wraiths. Even with my resistance to magic and 2 will, she rolled a nat 6, and I resisted and rolled like a 3 high. And I had spent a point of mine earlier that the turn prior to do a heroic combat. I killed like a few orcs, and so basically Dernhelm and Awen and Mary were paralyzed the rest of the game. They were on the ground behind their line.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah. So, but what else happened in this turn made up for it. So I charged Birder with Aemir, charged Théoden, and just charging all my stuff. She did have 2 cave trolls in the list, 2 like unnamed cave trolls, and one of them was trapped behind an orc battle line between a building and 2 buildings basically, so he didn't do much. And then the other one was actually fighting Théoden. So I called death, did the strike with Théoden, did the strike with Aemir, struck up higher than Birders with Aemir, struck up higher than the troll with Théoden. Won the fight with Aemir, and then I actually one-shotted Birders. I rolled 2 5s and a 6, and then I mited up the 4 I rolled, because even though I charged a monster, I get my charge bonus. I rolled my 4 dice, and I rolled 2 5s, a 6, and then I mited my 4 up to a 5 just to kill Birders straight up. So I did end up killing Birders. Birders didn't even get to spend a point of might, and I didn't realize that was like the only might she had on the table. So killing Birders,
because those bar rights don't have might.
Yeah, they don't have might. So that was like probably the biggest thing in the game. Basically, after that, I was able to pick apart the orcs and take them out. She did paralyze a few, like my rural garden stuff with the barrow whites, but I think she's still new to the game. And my list,
very new.
Yeah, and my list is, I don't want to say it's tailor-made to fight a orc horde, but it is, minus the trolls.
It's totally tailor-made. I mean, that it's based off of how they just ran over all the orcs at Minas Tirith. So
yeah, so it was
one-shotting Murder is freaking awesome. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, that was the biggest part of that game, and that's honestly, that was probably honestly the biggest thing in that game, is all I can say, really. She did kill Mary and Eowyn eventually. They were, like I said, they were trapped on the ground, paralyzed, and they were just getting beaten down by orcs. Both of them did die. And then Théoden, Eomer were untouched, and then I was unbroken. So I broke her, was unbroken, killed her leader, and didn't have the banner. But so it was like an 11-0 win for me, because of the painting bonus. So, and I will say, I actually painted that army that she was playing, because apparently Josh bought them from you, and I sold them to you. Or traded them to you.
Yeah.
So like she started putting orcs. Yeah, she started putting her models on the table, and I was like, "Did I paint these?" She's like, "I don't know. I don't think so." I was like, "Pretty sure I did. It looks like my paint job." And I remember.
You should have finished the army for her, Joe.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, it was mostly painted except for the
trolls.
No, the trolls were painted. There was like a few things that weren't. It was like even the shades and stuff she had were painted. Or sorry, the Dead Marsh Spectres. So, but that was really my round 2. It was it's like one of those games when you're versing a newer player, and I didn't want to like go in there and just like, I could have just not told her anything, just move my pieces, charge, start rolling dice. But I really wanted to walk her through stuff, so like she knew why I was throwing this amount of dice. And I was like, you have your troll, you could hurl him, and she was able to hurl some guys. So I told her about it. So, but yeah, it was. I think maybe with some more practice, she could be a force to be reckoned with, especially with 3 trolls. I mean, it's no joke.
Yeah, I agree. She's not only going to get better, I think, but she's a very good sport about it too.
Yeah,
because a lot of folks, when they first come in, they think they should be really good. She's got a good teacher in Josh, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And she's a good sport. So I didn't do a good best sportsmanship, but I'm pretty sure she would have been the winner had we done one for this event, because it was a small event, and it's just like, okay, pretty much everybody who came to this event is either knows each other or has met each other somewhat, at least once.
Prior.
I don't think there were any strangers at that event coming for a first time.
Everyone there, I think. Everyone there has been to at least one of your events prior. So
yeah. I know Chris has been to one, and then Michael, he's been to them, and we've met them at other events, and then David and Evan, we've been down to their events, and they've come up here. So and then Josh and Richie and Ashley as well, coming from all over the place. I guess the only quote unquote new person would be Ashley, and I've known her since before this because she travels with Josh. So
Yeah, I think that's how everybody felt. Why everybody felt so comfortable dressing like a bunch of idiots in front of each other.
we needed to take more photos.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this, but there was a
yeah.
little rule that if you dressed up in a
Like,
costume, you get you get a token,
Yep.
and you can switch with your opponent or cancel a switch.
Yeah.
I think because
And
I wore the He-Man wig. All right, so I had the
and I
most
dressed
foolish
like
look on.
Gandalf. Everybody dressed up except for Jason. I
Hey,
wanted
I've
to
got
see
a
that.
costume on.
I wanted to see that Han Solo costume.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah.
sit down the side. Something
um,
backward now.
but everybody ended up taking off their stuff before the first round anyway. So
Yeah. Um,
I think actually Evan and David wore theirs through round one, so I think they should get like an extra shout out hoorah because they had to play with not only wigs but they also had fake mustaches and beards on
yeah.
as well.
I
So,
actually didn't realize this until like like later that night. I was kind of thinking about it. They both were playing Khand and Easterlings, so like Men of the East stuff, and they were the Blue Wizards who went to the East. So I was like, oh, when I kind of thought about it, I was like, that's really cool.
well, do you realize what their team name was too, right?
Well, what was it? I actually didn't even know what
The,
they.
the Orient Express.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Because the Easterlings and the Khand are supposed to kind of be like Oriental men of Middle Earth because of their darker skin tones from coming from the hotter regions. So they went with the whole Orient Express idea,
That's
and
cool.
then we've got the Blue Wizards. Was it Alto and Palardia or whatever their names are?
Yeah, I remember one of them is Palando.
Unofficially,
Palando. Yeah, I
Palando.
don't remember what the
Yeah,
other ones was. I always forget. But
Alpar. It starts with an A.
that was my round two. It was actually the only one I had.
so Jason, you want to go? You want me to go?
I don't care. What you want to do?
Mm, I'll go ahead and go. So my round two, I versed the new
Oh,
Bayorlings and
scary.
the Bayorn Legendary Legion in a kill scenario,
Yeah.
which is like a nightmare.
Uh-huh.
So
There's actually a battle report too that's going to be coming out.
yeah, I've actually been interested to watch that.
Yeah, I would too
Um,
actually.
so going into that game, I knew that definitely contested champions and Lords of Battle would be terrible for me.
Yep.
Because Bayorn is his leader, Bard's mine, contested champions. Bayorn's gonna kill Bard, and then
Kill all your fishermen.
yeah, my defense 5 guys are gonna get eaten alive in Lords of Battle. So we rolled. He actually rolled lowest. So he actually, surprisingly, he eliminated Lords of Battle. I was
Wow.
really shocked about that.
Yeah,
What?
that
Yeah.
almost seems like a easy win for him in Lords of Battle.
Yeah, I said okay.
What?
That's fine. And I actually brought it up later. He said, "Yeah, I didn't want you to kill my stuff." I was like, "Okay." That was like your key to victory. Yeah, that was your pathway. What are your? That was like two of three. Yeah, really, he had 2 options to win the game, and that was like probably his. I mean, well, of course, contest champions do, but especially
Yeah.
Lords of Battle, he would have won that easily.
So if he had gotten rid of To the Death, you would have literally been stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
because even in a shooting war, because he has the great bows on his Bayornings, and like Green Bayorn is a great bow, so he could trade blows with you. I mean, you do have blinding light, but
Yeah.
eventually.
I had blinding light, but yeah,
Yeah, that's
he would have hurt for sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I rolled highest, so I ended up picking To the Death, and I thought that was the only plausible path to victory for me.
I agree.
And I sat back as far as I could go, and he actually deployed. It's actually a 12-inch deployment, so he had to deploy 12 inches from his board edge. I deployed 12 inches from mine. And so I had multiple turns of shooting. I started shooting Bayorn. Let me tell you about this cheese first, though.
Oh yeah.
So I knew that I had a couple turns of shooting. So what I did first turn before priorities rolled 4, I rolled for Alfred, got my 3 might with Bard, and then on the movement, I kind of shimmied around a little bit, and then strengthened willed Alfred, and Alfred sat at 2 will, and I was okay, cool. So Alfred had 2 will. That's important for later on. So anyway,
Yes,
Yeah.
that's very
so Beorn, he kept his 2 bears in front of his Beorlings, and as I asked, that's good, good
it's a good tactic.
Yeah.
tactic. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna shoot Beorn. I'm gonna focus Beorn with Bard,
Mhm.
wounding him on 6s with the Great Bow, and I'll spend as much might as I need to try to get some
Yeah.
leader wounds and get on the scoreboard early. So I ended up actually wounding Beorn while in the first couple of turns of shooting, and I spent 3 might. So I used my 3 free might to get a wound off, but it was a wound, and he was out of fate, I believe. And he eventually got kind of close. I did something I rarely ever do. I moved back so I could shoot him again. And he's like, "Ah, you gonna do this, huh?" I was like, "Well, I kind of have to.
Yeah.
I kind of have to. I mean, and I shot him again, and I actually killed some Beorlings in shooting. So combat started. He called a heroic combat with Grim Beorn, and he was going to try to get into Gandalf, who I didn't strike up with. And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
But just the placement of my guys and the placement of the terrain, he was actually not able to get into Gandalf,
Oh, okay.
which was really important.
That's convenient.
Because of the size of his base, he just wasn't able to do it.
Yeah.
They're
And
over 50 mil. They're big bases.
yeah, and he did have to spend might with Beorn to save a wound. So I wounded him before he failed his fate, failed the other fate, failed the last fate, and he ended up having to spend might. So I think he was sitting about 1 or 2 might when combat hit. So he had 6 might to my.
Wow.
I had 3
wow.
with Bard at the time, through Gandalf, and then through Percy.
Gee.
But he did kill Percy early on.
Did he kill him in shooting or in
Anyways,
combat?
no, in combat, he rolled into I won priority,
Yeah.
and he called a heroic
Uh huh.
and charged Percy with Beorn.
Okay. That'll do.
And then I charged his Grim Beorn, his Beorlings with Bard.
Yeah.
And my goal was to wipe out his Beorlings and then break him, which ultimately happened. But interestingly enough, he ran out of might, and I had might left with Gandalf and with Bard, and was calling heroic moves every time he got priority. So then I could base one guy into Beorn.
Yeah.
I started casting magic on Grim Beorn, and eventually Grim Beorn, even with the magic resistance, he ran out of will. I got
Yeah, because there's only so many times you're going to be able to resist.
Yep. I rolled a successful immobilize on Grim Beorn, and he failed his resistance, and he rolled 2 will to try and resist. He kind of needed to resist it, and he rolled like a 3 high.
Wow.
So,
Ouch.
yeah, he did get a free resist off one round, but anyway, I just kept charging guys in the Grim Beorn. I had to make courage checks, and everybody was able to get in, and then Gandalf was running in and hitting him with strict 5 hits. I did manage to get Grim Beorn down to 1 wound.
Yeah.
Bard's flank, eventually I ran out of might, so here comes Alfred Clutch, and gives Bard his 2 might. That had to roll 4 force. Yep. And so that would make it 5 points of might I got with Bard that game, which is huge.
Yeah, it is. That's
And yeah, I was able to control the next 2 turns, which is big.
yeah. It is.
So pretty much, here's another funny thing. I failed to charge with any of my available units into to Beorn,
Yeah.
except for one person, that was Alfred, who had already spent. So I made a successful courage check with Alfred and ran into Beorn.
That coward passed a courage check? Mr. I got swallowed by a troll?
Did he
Josh was like, that's kind of uncharacteristic. I was like, yep, but he's going to charge you anyway.
did he win the fight at least?
No, of course not. He got destroyed.
It'd be even funnier if Alfred won
So-
the fight.
By the end of the game,
Man of the match.
by the end of the game, all of his Baneorlings were dead. He was broken. He was not quartered though. I needed to kill one more guy, and I had just become broken. So I was like, okay, what I need to do here is actually run Bard away from Beorn because I cannot lose Bard.
Yeah.
So I ran Bard away from Beorn, ran the daughters away from Beorn, and kept all of them together with some guys bubble wrapping them.
Mm-hmm.
And then his Beorn was able to just kill the stragglers pretty much. So last turn of the game, or second last turn of the game, I'm really close to quartering him. I sent Bard around a corner to get a line of sight on his 3 archers in the back and wounded one with my great bow.
Mm-hmm.
So I was 1 wound away from quartering him. Then the next turn, I'm broken, so I have to make courage checks with fishermen. Gandalf is dead at this point. So failed shit to the courage checks and became quartered myself. Went into shooting. Shot my first shot at the guy with 1 wound and missed it. So at this point, I wounded Beorn. He did not wound Bard.
Yeah.
I was quartered, and he was broken.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a 4-5 victory to him. But then I got the army painted bonus, and it became a 5-5 draw. If I wounded that guy, it would have been a
6-5.
6-5 win for me.
Wow.
Gotta love it.
Very close game.
Yeah.
But I felt good about that game because that Legendary Legion is really scary.
Yeah, it is.
And I felt like I played it really well.
I'm impressed by how much damage you dealt to him in shooting. Because those bears are defense 8, and it's no joke trying to wound them.
Yeah, well, I pretty much just shot at his regular Beorlings with my regular archers and just focused with that great bow on Beorn, and it worked. So I was surprised too. But that was my game too.
So do you think if you had maybe focused for a turn or two on the Beornings with Bard, that it would have given you a chance to break him, or quarter him, because you maybe would have gotten an extra kill or two?
Yeah.
Or do you think it was better just taking all the fate and might from Beorn?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think ultimately, shooting at Beorn was the right decision because he did not wound Bard later on. So I got those VPs, and
but quartering him is 2 VPs, where wounding's only 1, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I would also having Beorn come in with full might and fate would have been.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
So I think getting those resources off Beorn early game was good, but also shooting his. Really, the only Beorlings I had left to kill were his archers, and at the time I was more focused on the immediate threat of the
his 2
guys coming in.
Beefy heroes.
Yeah, exactly.
2 giant bears.
Yeah.
So, but no, I think that's definitely a possibility of shooting at his. Maybe shoot past Beorn into like the archers and maybe hit Beorn in the process. But I was like really set on like, hey, I got this strength 4 bow. I'm gonna put it to work on Beorn because that's really the best chance I have at wounding him at this point. Yeah. Of course, charging Bard into Beorn and striking up, but that's a really risky situation.
Yeah, it is.
So
because what do they fight 8? I think
Beorn is fight 8. Grim Beorn's fight 7.
Yeah.
So even if you had him out of might, which you did, you got him out of might, you're gonna have to roll a minimum of 4 better to be a better fight value. So, on a 3, you'd be tied, which would come to a 50-50 roll-off, which you would really hate to lose. And then on 1 or 2, he's winning on a 6. Yeah, so that's tough. I don't think you would really want to send Bayorn against that.
There's also that like possibility next turn, if you lose priority and you want to save your might for the strike, he charges Bard, and then once he charges, he gets that monstrous charge, and then you're like, well, Bard's fucked.
Yeah, he's completely screwed because he's going to get that 4th attack. Yeah. So I think honestly you played it about as smart as you could. I really think focusing that strength 4 bow definitely and using the might was a smart play.
Yeah.
I mean, even go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like the play I would have like if I was playing my Isengard or whatever, I probably would have been focusing those crossbow shots on his bears as well.
Yeah.
Well, another interesting thing about that game was that was Gandalf. Everything he brought, he pretty much kept Grim Beorn worthless the whole game until the last turn where he died, or the second to last turn where he died. And at that point, Gandalf was spent, and Grim Beorn was. I mean, Gandalf served his purpose, even though he died.
Yeah.
Well, Grim Beorn's more expensive than Gandalf, so when it comes to a points matchup, Gandalf technically played up. So, because Grim Beorn and Beorn are both 200 points, so he played up to the standard that he needed to.
Yeah, so that was the second game in a row where if I did not have Gandalf, I probably would have lost.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds kind of like your round 2, the last turn or 2 for you went the same way that the last turn or 2 went for Joe in round 1. Right, you playing it smart, you're playing it tactically smart. I mean, your strategy was flawless. You executed it, and it's just taking away the guy that's going to keep your fisherman around hurts you because of the low courage.
Exactly, but
giving up those VPs was smart too.
Yeah, what I've done again in hindsight is really I might have run Bard around my army so that he's behind my guys, but then also Beorn can barge. So really, Bard was not really safe anywhere in that front where I could put him.
Yeah.
So
does he have a 12-inch standfast?
He does. I did pop his legendary hero bonus, and so I got some of the guys, but then all the guys that were around Gandalf ended up fleeing, so they were just out of his 12-inch steadfast.
Yeah. I mean, it worked though. I mean, a tie is not a bad thing,
Especially, in a kill scenario where you're versing one of those very powerful kind of legendary. I feel is going to be a very powerful in the future legendary legion.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to fight it. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
So I went against 2 really powerful legendary legions my first 2 rounds and ended up doing pretty good. That being said, I was playing Lake Town, so
yeah, the OG of powerful lists,
which is pretty much a powerful legendary legion by itself without the legion.
Yeah, that's real. So
that's
Jason,
my round 2.
You're round 2, Jason.
So round 2, I played against Evan, and you played him round 1. Who played him? Dan, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm playing against the Dragon Emperor with the Black Dragon Knight and his 6 mounted guys, and the name spellcaster guy. I can't remember what his name is. I think he starts with a B. Brogier or something like that.
Oh yeah, the caster.
Yeah, the new caster.
Brogier, yeah.
Yeah. So, re-roll. I'm pretty sure I rolled low again. And I eliminated Contest of Champions right away. I was like, I'm not even going to try and have my commander go up against or out-wound the Dragon Emperor. So I figured to the death or, what is it?
Lords of Battle?
Lords of Battle, yeah. I figured Lords of Battle, I would have a better advantage, even though I actually out-modeled him in that round. I think I had, that was 600 points, so I think I had 34.
Yeah.
And he had a few less. So he would have had a better chance of doing more damage to me, but he had a lot of cavalry, like Dan mentioned earlier. So the possibility of getting wounds on mounts would help me. So I kind of expected him to get rid of to the death, also because I had 6 crossbow shots, and he had 3 straight up just bow shots. Well, he got rid of Lords of Battle, which I was like, well, okay. I guess we're going to play to the death. So we deployed, and I deployed, at the max range of my 12 inches, and he deployed at the max range of his 12 inches.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to movement round 1 or turn 1, and I don't remember who got priority. I just remember I didn't move. I said, to hell with it, I'm staying here. He's like, oh, he had a drum too. That's the other thing. I don't think Dan mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
So he drummed and moved way forward. So these guys are moving 9 inches. But I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to stand here and shoot you. So of my 6 bow shots, I got 2 hits. I put all my shots into his cav, and I took, I believe it was the drum. I actually took the drum off his mount.
Huh. Okay.
So now the drum's on foot. And he's like, oh, well, that sucks. So we go into round 2, and I moved a few guys up on the edges, or turn 2, and I didn't move much more. And he drummed again, but this time the drum's not moving as far.
Yeah.
And so he had like 7 or 6 mounted guys, I think it was. The Black Dragon, Knight, and 5 Cataphracts. So I shoot at them again. And I kill one of them outright and take 2 of them off of horses. Mm-hmm. So he's down to just the Black Dragon and like 2 other guys mounted. So we get into the 3rd turn, and this is the turn where we're setting up lines, because the next turn we're fighting. There's just nothing that's going to be done about it. And I was like, all right, I'm putting everything on the Black Dragon Knight. So I shot at the Black Dragon Knight, and, well, I couldn't put all my shots. I had to actually put a couple shots at his archers that were shooting at me and doing absolutely nothing. And I actually killed them with shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So I shot at the Black Dragon Knight, and I took him off the horse. And he went prone. And he was able to stand up, though, because he's got that that ability.
Combat stance or whatever, unyielding combat stance or whatever it's called.
Yeah, preternatural ability, where if he rolls a 1 on a thrown rider on a 50-50, he can not take the damage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he failed that, and then he took a wound, and I rolled and wounded him.
Huh.
So he's literally down to 2 mounted units of his squadron of 6 or 7. I can't remember if he had a full 7 or not, to be completely honest. And the drum is on foot, and I'm literally just like, I need to target these mounted guys, because if they get the charge off and they're within 12 inches of the Dragon Emperor, they're going to outfight me. And even though they're only strength 3, they're going to outdice me. And if they knock me prone, they're going to most likely kill me. Because if he can get them onto the flanks, he can be wounding my pikes and my berserkers on 5s. So that was my thought process. And it worked. I mean, I killed 2 guys in shooting plus like 4 horses. So pretty damn good shooting that game. Can't complain.
Yeah, crossbows, and when they work for you, they work,
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you'd think 50-50 with crossbows on a 4-up. I always score less than 50%. I'm usually at that like 38 to 40% range. If I have 8 of them, I might get 3 hits. Mm-hmm. But then when they do hit, if you're shooting at the right targets, you're very likely to wound. And that's what was happening for me. Is I was shooting in there, I was hitting, and then he's like, okay, who are you hitting, horse or rider? And I'm sitting here going, I'm hoping I hit the horse, because I'm going to get on a 5. Oh, look, I hit the horse. Oh, hey, look, I rolled a 6, your horse is dead. So it was pretty good. That was really the big action, in my opinion. When we got into combat, my captains are fight 5 to his fight 5 troops within that 6-inch bubble. So I did a few heroic combats. I had 2 captains that were literally just fighting side by side with 2 pike supports on each of them. So I was throwing 4 dice in every single one of those fights and hoping I could win 50-50 roll-offs and do damage. And when I was winning the fight or winning the 50-50 roll-offs, I was killing because the strength 4 against that defense 6, I'm wounding everything on 5s. And that was really what the biggest difference in the game was, where in a turn that he would get 1 or 2 kills on, like, he'd isolate a pike on the edge, or he'd finally surround a berserker and the berserker would roll bad because I don't have a banner. And he might do a wound. So he'd get 1 or 2 kills. I would turn around and get 3 to 4. Going back to what you were saying, Joe, about magic, that new caster dude, I think he saved about 6 wounds that I dealt.
Yeah, I remember walking by and he was passing fury saves like
they were candy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was actually one thing in our game too. He didn't make a lot of them, but he did make a few of them, which came in clutch because I spent some might on one of the kills.
Yeah, it's like fury. It's like one of those things, man, where it's like fury, even though it quote unquote got nerfed, which I thought it was too powerful to begin with. Like, well, the channel version was. I feel like if you save like 2 or 3 guys in a game, plus the automatically passing your courage check, it's done exactly what it should be doing.
Yeah. And I mean, he didn't have to worry about... I did break him, but I think we only had like 2 turns where he had to courage check. And being a hero legend, the Emperor passed his first one automatically. And then, I mean, once he's broken, his Black Dragon guys are courage 5.
Yeah.
I will say his non-upgraded guys and the Acolytes went down like flies because he had the Acolytes on the edge, so they weren't getting the bonus. So I threw my commander with the 3 attacks against them and heroic combated off a couple to basically wipe them out in like a turn and a half of combat.
Yeah. Did he get any throwing dagger kills on you with him?
He never. I don't think he ever even got a throwing dagger off because by the time we got into combats, I think I had the priority that turn, and so I charged them all straight up. And I'm pretty sure he never even got any off.
Okay.
He maybe 1, but if it didn't do a wound. The only thing I remember distinctly was the fact that he had at least 5, fury saves, and I'm just like, damn. On top of having all the free Black Dragon upgrades, then he gets 5 fury saves on 9-point model minimum.
Yeah.
That's another 4. So I'm playing 600 on 600, and with his Black Dragon upgrades and his fury saves, it was basically me fighting 700 points of Easterlings.
Yeah, that one other thing too about the Brogear is he does have fury, but he also has like some other pretty gnarly like.
He threw tremors at me.
Yeah, tremors. He also has enchanted blades and blade wrath, so it's like
he threw enchanted blades. Okay. No, he threw blade wrath 1 turn because he was trying to get a kill or something. I don't remember what he was going for. Yeah, might have been my commander. I'm not exactly sure.
Trying to murk. Well, I mean it was a captain. A captain. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I definitely feel like that in the future that model is going to be. I want to say he's gonna be a pretty tough cookie for a lot of people, like especially like lower like ranking like mid tier heroes like your 3-1-1 like your Darrowwines and your Faramir's of the world are gonna have a hard time trying to combat him. Like,
well, so to be honest, my own heroes, my list would have a hard time combating him.
Yeah, you don't have any big hitters in your list that can
exactly. But I guess I did the smart thing and just completely ignored him.
Yeah.
The one thing that he did that I found that was really weird was tactically he positioned it badly. He had it behind his entire pike line, and then when he spread out his pike line, because we played on a foresty board, and he had to walk through a choke point, and that's kind of what helped me shoot at his cav, because he had the cav at the front of the choke point. And when he got outside of the choke point, I was already spread out because of my deployment. He had to spread out, and when he spread out, he put the Dragon Emperor behind his line. And I was like, he's like, what do you think I could have done better? Because he asked me that at the end of the game. I said, why did you put the Dragon Emperor back there? He said, I was afraid you were going to shoot at him for a turn. I said, who cares?
Yeah, he's had 7.
I was like, let me shoot at you, because if I hit you, on a 66% chance of hitting the Panikin, which I'm wounding on 5s. Oh, it's got 6 wounds. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe I take you down to half wounds, so you're only moving 3 inches. Very unlikely. He said, well, your shooting was really hot today. I was like, okay, that's true.
Yeah.
I will give you that.
That whole model is just like one big. It just seems like a missile sponge. Like even if I was versing your Rangers of Athelion and I was playing that list with the Emperor, I wouldn't necessarily be too worried about like conventionally like you're like, oh shit, I don't want my horse to get shot off his horse or whatever. Like but that guy you don't really have to worry about too much until he gets down to like 2 wounds or whatever on the mount itself. But
I mean, even if it goes down to 3 wounds, right? It's moving 3 inches.
Yeah.
Well, if you have him in the thick of fighting with as big of a base as it is, it's pretty likely you're going to be able to get him into somebody.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, he was only in like the first 2 turns of combat, at least, maybe the first 3.
Mm-hmm.
It never fought. It was literally there to provide a 6-inch banner and a 12-inch fight value buff.
Yeah.
That was it. And then when it did get in combat, I fed it. I mean, charge a guy in, put another guy, a pike behind him in a position where if I lose the fight, I can move the pike out so that you can't get around him. So you're going to have to charge him because of control zones.
Yeah.
Imagine that's kind of my experience while versing him. Imagine if he led his charge with that guy.
Because when I versed the guy the weekend before with that model, he had that thing leading the charge, and it was like I said, it was a real tough game.
Yeah,
he also had
I would have been
Rotavi
afraid.
with him. It was. I just think he's going to be a shield wall killer. It's going to be pretty tough playing a shield wall army against him.
Yep. I mean, you're going to need at least a minimum of a fight 6 hero with strike, and probably 2 of them.
Yeah.
So
I will say, because I did read, I reread his rules in the FAQs that came out with him, and I will say, I think probably your biggest bet of even making someone worry with him would be with a siege engine, because that's the only time you could actually knock him off the mount is if you shoot him with a direct hit with a siege engine.
Yeah, it would have to be a large siege engine.
Yeah, like your ballistas or whatever.
Catapults. Yeah, trebuchets. Mm-hmm. Yeah, catapults. Anyway, so my score for that game, I broke him. I was unbroken. No, I think I might. No, I was unbroken. I think he was like 1 away from breaking me or something like that. And then I quartered him. Mm-hmm. No, I think breaking's only 1. So I think we were both broken, but I quartered him. I don't remember. I didn't do any wounds.
Yeah.
He got. Hey, what?
You get all the big victory points for quartering somebody in that scenario.
Yeah, I think it's breaking and being unbroken.
Yeah.
Is the big like breaking is 3 and
to the death. Okay, to the death. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So breaking your opponent and then quartering.
Does he count? Does he count as the banner? Like because it says like in the golden. I haven't read.
The Panikin itself does.
Okay.
So that's the VPs he got, because he got the VPs for the banner, because I didn't kill it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a 6-2 or 7-2 score, and then with the painting bonus, it was 8-3 for me. So I pulled a major victory in that one.
Yeah, nice. I feel like that Easterling Legendary Legion, like I said, I just think it's gonna be a real tough. Like when people get done kind of playtesting it and learning how it works, I think it's gonna be pretty tough to verse. I do think he's not like a conventional hero on a horse where you have to worry about him getting countercharged next turn. Like, because also another thing, I don't think did Evan have Rotavi in his list, the other fighter.
No, because it's too low wing.
Okay, yeah, Rotavi's gonna be another one. If those two paired up, is gonna be a nightmare for a lot of people, a lot of lists.
Yeah, at 800 points, I think you would probably take Rotavi, the Dragon Emperor, Brogear, and if you can squeeze it, and that's a big if,
a Dragon Knight.
A Dragon Knight, because the Dragon Knight also gives you the free upgrade.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're taking 16-point cataphracts for 14 points.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so that was your round 2, my round 2 covered, and then Dan's round 2 we covered. So round 3, will be an easy round because I versed Jason. Yay! I versed Jason. We played maneuvering scenarios, right? It was
objective.
Objective. So we rolled. I pretty much knew I wanted to seize the prize because historically I've been able to do really good on that scenario because I move fast.
Yeah. So the 3 objectives are destroy the supplies.
Yeah.
I can never remember the name, but it's the capture the flag one.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And then seize the prize.
Yeah. So destroy the supplies. One I knew like he had a lot more models than me. I was like he could easily tie up my army and then sneak a few guys around and start destroying them. So I decided I would like to play that one. You eliminated the capture the flag one probably because my mobility.
Yeah.
My mobility would be pretty keen on that one.
I can be honest. Seize the prize and the capture the flag one both to me were terrible scenarios to have to play against you because even though the capture the flag one you can kind of deploy on the middle line, but it's diagonally, so I would have to stretch out real thin, which you could just run right over and through.
Pick a point.
And then seize the prize, you can run around me. Because both of those scenarios, they don't end if you get the objective off the board, but if you get the objective off the board, the game's pretty much over. That's 7 VPs right there.
So we deployed. Both of us called heroic marches. I moved Théoden up. I called the heroic march of Théoden because he's the one who knows it. You called it with one of your captains, I believe. Both moved up.
I all have it.
I was able to get in front of the objective with my march. And this game is when I realized the attrition, how much it affected my list. Because, I decided, okay, so I looked at your threats in your list. You had the crossbows, which you had to move. I was like, okay, so Jason, if he's smart, he's going to use his captains to start charging my riders and my royal guard and start chopping them down. And I was like, okay, so in my head, I was like, if I can, because I also moved up to a point where next turn you were able to charge me, if we got down to a roll off.
Yep.
So I decided, okay, I got in front of the objective. I set Théoden back with the objective, and I decided next turn I would dismount Théoden and try and pick the objective up with Théoden. Even though I'm losing my knockout power, I didn't want to risk trying to pick it up with a regular guy, because all it would take would be for you to kill him, and then move off of the jewel somewhere, and you could tie up my list, because I had like 13 models or something crazy like that. It was like pretty low.
I think you had like 18 or something.
Yeah, it was in the teens.
There was a fair amount of guys there.
Yeah, but you had more. You mean, yeah, you didn't have.
I had 20 something.
Yeah, so I figured if I can get the objective with Théoden, use Aemir and Dernhelm to kill your heroes, and then use them to play guard for Théoden as I try and move behind your line. That was kind of my objective. So next turn, I actually won the heroic roll-off because we both called the moves. And I saw, and this could have been a mistake, just easily but I saw your commander in front, and I was like, if I can charge him with Aemir and one shot him, I get the leader kill, and I'm taking your might off the table in one go. So I decided to do that. In hindsight, I probably should have gone for your battle line, just so I could have gotten more guys in. But
you felt the old carrot trick,
The easy leader kill though enticed me, so I charged Aemir in, but then that really, because your commander was kind of offset, he was like pretty far over to the right, so it really handicapped which of my riders I was able to actually move in. So, and a lot of my guys were actually just sitting back doing nothing, which that was what really hurt me that turn.
Yeah, it ended up spreading your line out too much, instead of being able to camp on the center around Théoden.
Yeah, so Théoden didn't pick up the jewel, which didn't surprise me. And then basically I killed your commander, but you were able to just start whittling my army down. I don't even think I killed any of your other heroes. Eventually your captains were able to get into Théoden and murked him pretty easily.
Aiden did a good job standing. I mean, you did what you had to do. You shielded and struck up, so you rolled 4 dice and you got the 6 and was because I sent both of my remaining captains after him.
Yeah, I did the only thing I figured I could do, and that's try and hold out until Aemir and Durnhelm can get to them. But they just I didn't have if I had that 4th hero in my list, because that's where my list really shines, is when I pack it with that 12 might, those 4 heroes.
Yep.
And that's where like I said, because the round after this, I really saw that attrition take in. But it was one of those.
Oh, and the one thing that you definitely have to talk about. So when it comes to might, you actually were +3 against me because I only had 3 captains at that point. So that's 6 points of might to your 9. Your dice were just absolutely horrendous. You were spending might that you normally wouldn't have to spend just to win combats.
Yeah, like
where
against your captain.
Even the one against
commander,
my commander,
I had to use might just to
win. So you did death, which was great because you got the heroic strike off.
Mm-hmm.
But then I burned. I think you rolled a 5 high and I rolled a 4, and I'm like, well, I'm going to spend both my points of might to make you burn one.
Yep.
So I mean, I stole a might or 2 from you just because of the fact that your dice were just completely screwing you that game.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have. There wasn't, aside from getting in front of the jewel first, and then getting that heroic move off. There really wasn't a point in the game where I was like, oh shit, okay, this is going to be easy. It was kind of like, okay, I need to try and play defense until I can get my heroes to do stuff, and then they just never were able to. It was one of those things where, like I said, is like I really missed having that 4th mounted hero on my list.
Yeah. I mean, it was literally like the movie of the assault on Helm's Deep. You stuck in there, but the overwhelming numbers from my army just slowly wheeled you down. Where you'd get a kill or 2 here or there, but your losses were much more prominent compared to mine.
Yeah, as soon as I started there was like a turn where I didn't charge. I didn't get the heroic whatever, and because I didn't get a heroic move off, and you actually were able to. You killed like 5 or 6 guys. You killed like 5 or 6 guys that first turn in combat. Anyway, it was like a pretty big number because I was like, oh shit. And then
because of the fact that since you sent hammer off to the one side, it gave me the ability to regroup and push the middle and kind of break through there.
Yeah.
So I mean, the entire time our lines were completely intermixed the entire time. And I think again, if you had just thrown hammer right into the middle and just completely surrounded me, my numbers wouldn't have meant anything because in that situation, every guy would have had a charge. They would have had a charge bonus. They would have had a fight value bonus. It would have forced a lot more 50-50s. And instead, they were you had half your army sitting there, so I was able to get the numbers and stack the dice.
Yeah, and that was just one of those that might have been the only mistake I made that game, or it definitely was the biggest one. But Rohan, especially mounted Rohan force, is not very forgiving if you make big mistakes. So
yeah,
but yeah, that was round 3. It was the second biggest loss I had of the tournament. I did get VPs for killing your leader, and that was about it.
And for painting, it was a final score of 9-3.
So that's my round 3. Really,
I got the objective, and I was on. I think I just had it right in the middle.
Broke me. You're unbroken. I needed to kill 2 or 3 models or something to break you.
I think it was 3 more, and then I also killed Thaden.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, 9-3 final score.
Again, it kind of goes down to that fight 4, fight 5 meta. Even though Rohan gets it, I have to charge, and I 100% realize, and I realized this years ago, that especially in this edition, the turns you charge with Rohan in this edition are absolutely devastating, but the turns you don't charge, it's like. There are some games where I haven't gotten a charge off, and I'm surprised I lose as few models as I actually did. But yeah, that was it. You did a good job focusing down Thaden. You had enough troops to tie up Durnhelm and Aemir. I do think Durnhelm did botch a combat against someone.
I think it was like I think you did a heroic combat against like 2 guys or 3 guys.
Yeah.
I think you won it. You just
Didn't
failed to kill.
Yeah, I didn't kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. But that's pretty much the name of that game. And that's my round 3.
And mine too.
Yeah, Dan.
Well, that was easy. My round 3, I versed Todd, who Jason versed round 1. And he was playing his Mirkwood, or not Mirkwood.
Thranduil's Halls.
Thranduil's Halls nowadays. The army names change so much it's hard to keep track sometimes.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when we played this round, it was 500 points, and I had taken Gandalf and Bard. I actually dropped Percy, which I think generally people, if they're going to play this type of tournament, would keep Percy and drop Gandalf and have 170 point worth of fishermen on the field. But like I said at the beginning, my goal was to take Gandalf and do well with him, and to really learn how to play him. And I thought that it would be interesting.
Well, and to be honest, with the way I wrote the event packet, if you had dropped Gandalf, you would have been playing 70 points down.
Yeah, I mean,
because you had to maintain
exactly
the next.
So when we were we decided to play the capture the flag scenario. I forgot the name of it too. I didn't want to get I didn't want to fight him in the center. I wanted to be able to maneuver Gandalf and try to maybe take care of some of the threats before combat start. And so I didn't want to have get in a fight in the center. And also, another thing that really hurt me with Lake Town is I don't have any mobility, so it kind of hurt me the scenario we picked.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, this is probably my best chance. Because I think the other scenario was what's the other scenario? Yeah, destroy the supplies, and our numbers are similar. Our Malachi was similar, which is scary because he's elves. I'm fisherman. Okay, and I don't really want to fight with the fishermen, especially against elves spread out, because then I'm gonna get my banner bonus with Bard, or maybe leave the girls unprotected. So I really wanted to fight with my army and make him make him come to me, so maybe I could whittle him down a little bit and then do what I did last game and send guys around to grab his objective. But with the big model drop I had, I really didn't have enough models to do that. So it was pretty much, okay, I need to try to kill Thranduil and break him. And so first turn, I started focusing his rangers and shooting. I killed a couple. I actually cast Blinding Light. It's the only time this turn I did, and he didn't get any shooting off on me, including with Legolas. But he started moving Legolas to my right flank, his left, and he started to inch a little bit closer to my objective. I was like, shit, I really don't have anything to do. I mean, Gandalf had so many targets in that game that it's like, okay, if I decide not to do one thing, I know the thing's going to go off. You know what I mean? So like, I can do one thing that's really important, but then something else is going to happen. So I was like, okay, next turn I'll try to do something with Legolas and try to get him off his horse.
Yeah.
Okay. Next turn I'll try to do something. It's like, that's what I'm saying. Okay, next turn I'll try to do something with Legolas, get him off his horse. Eventually we met in the middle. Aura of Dismay was cast with Thranduil. Really didn't do much, but his +1 to wound with his guards or whatever.
It's all pretty much all the troops were.
Yeah,
Halls of Thranduil.
That came in clutch because he was wounding my guys on 4s.
Yeah, it's a really good special roll.
And he was out fighting me.
Yeah.
So it was like I would lose, then a guy would die. I'd lose, a guy would die. And then Bard and Gandalf, Bard was getting fought equal fight with the
guard.
guard of the Gleedrum, or not guard, the
Palace Guard.
Palace Guard.
Yeah.
And then the Gandalf was getting drawn with regular elves. And it was like, this is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
So pretty much how the game ended was he grabbed my jewel with Legolas.
Yep.
I did wound Gandalf. I think he did not wound Bard. And he moved the jewel a little bit. And then he got the 5-2 win. Or it wasn't a major win. It was like 5-3 or something. Because I was like, okay, we can still come back from that.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a major loss, but it
6-3.
Yeah, 6-3
with the painting bonuses. So 5-2 was the final score.
Yep. So that was my third game. Both of us were kind of, I guess, tired.
Yeah.
Because he's like, man, this is a really weird game. I was like, yeah, this is kind of a weird game because I don't have enough models to fight you, and I don't have
Lake Town.
Well, here's the thing: is like I was like, okay, I can't send Bard to go do anything because he needs to stay with the army.
Yeah.
And that's kind of his purpose. The only person I could have sent to do anything was Gandalf, but I really needed him in the center. So it was a catch-22 at about midway through the game. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to get his objective this game.
It was definitely. It sounds like it was definitely a target-rich environment for you when it came to threats for Gandalf to try and handle, and that's something that I actually didn't really touch on when I talked about my game with Todd in round 1 that you brought up, and I think it's huge. Is even though it's not a big bubble, that 3-inch bubble that Thranduil gives with the +1 to wound, that can really do some damage because he was wounding my berserkers on 4s, and when he got them surrounded, I will say my berserkers in round 1 did a really good job of ignoring wounds with their whatever it is, impervious, whatever. There was actually a couple bow shots I ignored, but when he got like 3 guys around a berserker and threw 3 4s, there's like, I'm not going to be able to stop 3 wounds with a berserker. So that was the thing I noticed.
It's a really powerful, like, it gets sort of like the age-old problem with elves is they can't wound anything. They got like the fight value to win fights, and even their heroes, some of their heroes.
Defense.
They're the defense, but when it comes to actually killing stuff, they tend to lack that. But
kicking in the shins.
That Halls of Thranduil, it pretty much gets rid of that. That's one thing. When I take that Thranduil's Halls, Iron Hills list, I take is when I have like the guys of Glaze. I always try and make sure there's Thranduils within that 3 inches. So my Strength 4 dwarves and my +1 the wound on the elves are doing a lot of work.
Yeah. So I mean, you're getting the ability to probably wound things on 5s with Strength 4, and then also on 5s with +1 to wound.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's very powerful. Very powerful.
Yeah. That and honestly, like I said, I forgot about that. But Dan bringing it up when Todd took Thranduil away from that side in that fight that I mentioned in round 1.
Yeah.
And that's when it went from him basically winning and killing to, okay, now I can shield, and it's harder for you to, I've got a 2-to-1 advantage here. Oh, hey, I won. Oh, hey, I killed you. So it went from me being on the defensive to he took away the offensive firepower, and it went to him kicking me in the shins and me trying to actually get a few kills back at him on that flank.
Yeah, so. It's a very powerful rule. Like in terms of like powerful army special rules, I think that's one that a lot of people overlook, but it's like super good.
Yeah, because essentially his guys became strength 6.
Yeah.
Because normally you need 5s. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it is when you start talking about like defense 7 models and stuff, needing 5s to
win. Yeah. Or even
strength 5.
Defense like 8.
Yeah. Even 5s by 3s or whatever. Yeah, 5s by 3s.
It's really good. I mean, I know some folks would be like, "Oh, it's only a 3-inch bubble," but well, if if you play smart, you really know how to maximize. I mean, it's like I was saying earlier about the whole thing, like I've done before with Immerhill. Just put him in a position to really maximize a 3-inch bubble.
Yep.
You don't always have to be doing work with your hero. They can do work with their special abilities as well.
Yeah, especially if you take him on foot, so he's kind of just mixed in with the shield wall.
Yeah, that and you probably should if you give him that Blade Lord rule. He's super good on foot.
I don't think he gained Blade. I don't think he gained Blade Lord.
He took that upgrade off because it was later in the tournament. So
yeah,
Thranduil could be a very cost efficient hero, or he can be that big legendary hero you need or want. He's very versatile. So
anyway,
yeah.
So that's my round 2.
That's your round
or 3.
Round 3.
Sorry.
So round 4. Oh boy, round 4. So this was my.
Are you having PTSD, Joe?
Yeah, this was my. So I was versing Richie playing Moria, and he had the Watcher in his list. At this point, my list comprised of Théoden, Éomer, a bunch of Royal Guard, and a bunch of 3 riders, 3 or 4 riders. It wasn't not a bunch, but so
it was a very small list.
A very small list versing I thought a model that I could control, but anyway, so he eliminated Fog of War, which was the one I was hoping to play. I eliminated Ilmet by Moonlight, and the only reason why I got rid of Ilmet by Moonlight is because I had 3 bow shots on my list. So I wasn't really banking on actually hitting him with my bows. But what I was really scared of was his Watcher getting +1 to wound with his tentacles. That maybe that was a fear that was misplaced, but I was like, dude, he's gonna be wounding my heroes on 5s with his tentacles, and my Royal Guard and on 5s, my riders on 4s. So I just didn't want to risk that extra damage bonus he can be getting with those tentacles with the Watcher.
Oh, because of traps?
No, Ilmet by Moonlight, you get +1 to wound on shooting.
Yeah, my bad. Shooting, my bad.
And his ability is a throwing weapon anyway, so if he's going to be shooting at me, it doesn't matter if he's within a certain radius of me or not, so I got rid of Ilmet by Moonlight, he got rid of Fog of War, so we played Assassination, which was I thought, I was like, okay, this will be easy. So basically,
you have to assassinate the Watcher in the water.
Well, again, I was like, because he had Durbers and like some goblins. So I was like, if I can start running those guys over and then start trapping his Watcher, I thought I can do it. And Éomer was my assassin by default. And Éomer definitely has the ability to shell out damage, because he one-shotted Durbers or Birders. So I figured if I can do it and trap his guy, I just need to get like 2 riders, and I had enough Royal Guard where I could just bodyguard into him, trap him, and then throw Éomer in there, and do that. That was kind of my thing. But here's how it went down. He parked his guys behind a building. I split my forces up to envelop him on both sides of the building. Éomer, which was a mistake, it was the mistake I made that game. Éomer and Théoden were now separated. He dropped the Watcher in the water down and killed like almost all the guys that were around Éomer. It was like a couple of riders. Next turn, I charge the Watcher. I charge the Watcher in the water with Éomer, and I was able to get an extra rider and Royal Guard, I think, in there. And I was able to tie up his Bat Swarm so his Bat Swarm couldn't charge Éomer. That was the important thing. Because he did charge Éomer. He actually pulled Éomer into a fight with him the turn prior and charged the Bat Swarm in and actually whittled some wounds on Éomer. So I charged him in, charged the Bat Swarm. I was like, okay, this is the turn where I can deal a lot of damage to this thing. So I call Heroic Strike. And I roll a 1 for my Heroic Strike. So we're tied fighting. But the biggest thing is to win the fight, I rolled a 3 highest with my 5 dice I was throwing, or 7 dice. The rider and Éomer botched it. He won the fight, massacred Éomer, and killed the guy that was helping him. Then I was like, okay, that just happened. So then, and Amir's normally a tank. He can take a lot of hits, but he was not. He was not. That Watcher in the water was not rolling bad. He was not playing around. He was even killing a lot of stuff with his throwing weapons, to the point where I was like, man, this is like getting really desperate. So I was like, okay, the only way I'm going to do this now is to get Thaden to kill Durbers and then try and kill his Watcher somehow. My mind was still in it. I did not give up. I still tried to salvage it. But then the Watcher in the water turned around and pretty much slapped Thaden, killed him. So he killed my leader. He assassinated my assassin. He assassinated his target with his assassin, and he broke me, and he was unbroken. And he got a 12-0 victory against me. It was pretty rough. The big mistake was splitting my heroes up. I should have kept them close together. But then again, it's like at that point, I really felt my lack of knockout power in that list. It's like between not having the four, because like I said, four or five heroes, that's the sweet spot. But having two heroes now, and then having his goblins were like killing my riders too. It was like really weird. But
so you had 2 games in a row where your dice absolutely abandoned you in any sense of being able to know what a good roll is, and 2 turns or two rounds where a single bad movement just completely prevented you from being able to recover.
Yeah, that's pretty much
how. And it was with the same hero too, man.
Yeah, I would pretty much say that would be that would kind of be it. It's like I don't know, like, because like I said earlier, Rohan's not a very forgiving force, and when you lose your tank, your assassin, he's the guy that takes the hits for Thaden while Thaden's killing troops basically. When all that is taken out, and then I have to depend on Thaden to do all the work, it didn't work.
Thaden's not reliable.
With hindsight, I probably should have played my Shire list. I actually thought about this. I probably should have played my Shire list at this event. Would have had the numbers. The points values wouldn't have affected me too bad. The Rohan, I think so when we did the escalation event for Chad, I basically had to worry about winning the first 2 rounds, and then the other 2 when my army got really powerful. That was perfect. When it came to de-escalation, I lost my first round, which should have been the one that I won, and then the 2 that I had decrease and attrition in my army. It was in terms of the scaling, I just didn't understand. I thought, I've played Rohan for so many years, I know, I could power through this, no problem. But it was like a big chaos ball just getting thrown into the my plans, and it didn't work out. I'm gonna reevaluate it.
To be fair, this is kind of where, as a TO, I made a mistake, and I heard this from almost everybody, including myself as a player, is unique scenarios are usually the ones where it's usually Fog of War that's used, and it's done at the end of a tournament because people are tired, and it really challenges you to see who the mentally best player is, due to the fact that you've got to really try and figure out what your opponent is. You got to not only play chess for yourself, but try and read through the chess game of your opponent to counter their objectives. And that's great at 700 points or above. But at 400 points that we were playing, it just made everything extremely obvious. Oh, hey, yeah, it's assassination. Well, we only have 2 heroes. So we know who the hero is that you're trying to assassinate, and we know who you're trying to assassinate him with.
Right.
If you wanted to be a complete ass, you could go hide him behind some terrain or whatever and completely just box him in and make it impossible to kill and be killed. And try and just whittle out, maybe go kill your opponent's army and get like a 2-0 victory by breaking and being unbroken. And then Fog of War, same thing. Again, you only have so many heroes. I don't think anybody had more than 2 heroes at that point of the game, outside of Dan, who actually I don't even think he did because I think you got rid of the girls at that point. I don't know. You'll have to tell us, but it was a mistake. It was my mistake. I admitted to it. I apologized for it. If we do it again, I would probably just make round 4 be kill the enemy scenarios,
Yeah, that makes
which
sense.
yeah, that being Lords of Battle, Contest of Champions, and To the Death,
Yeah,
where we just be like, okay, we're gonna make two. If you play To the Death, actually, I wouldn't even change To the Death to be honest. 400 points is not a lot of bow shots to be found, so you're gonna be moving anyway. But
yeah. I figured even if it was Ill Met by Moonlight, I still think he would have won. Because I got rid of that one. Fog of War, I think, would have been a mixed bag. I think I could have won if I had I would have probably ignored the Watcher. I just would have rode around his army, tried to break him, and take my terrain piece, whatever.
yeah,
Or I
and
would
that would
have,
have been good for
yeah,
you.
I would have played very differently. Ill Met by Moonlight, I still think I would have lost. He would have gotten more kills with the Watcher than perhaps. Because he did play the Watcher very smart. I will hand that to him.
Well, Ill Met by Moonlight, it's
It's
heroes killed.
yeah. Oh, his heroes killed. Yeah, he still would have
Yeah,
won. I would have killed Durbers, maybe. Uh,
but you could have avoided the Watcher.
I could
Even
have
with those
avoided.
tentacles shooting at you, he only moves 4 inches. You can just outrun his tentacles.
Yeah,
Wherever
that's
he brings them up, just literally run everybody away.
yeah.
Or at least the 2 heroes, and then, regroup and come back and hit the army, or just sit there back and shoot at them. So
Yeah.
I think Ill Met by Moonlight would have actually been. Ill Met by Moonlight and Fog of War would have been good for you. I think you played literally the only scenario that would have completely screwed you, and
Well, even
we see the
even
result.
though Ill Met by Moonlight, because it's like one of those things where even if this exact same thing happened, I charged Aemir in because he was killing my troops, and the +1 on the tentacles definitely would have been a factor. But yeah, I agree.
Well,
I think it might have been a better pick than Assassination because Assassination pretty much relied strictly on Aemir killing the Watcher at the end of the
yeah.
day, and in a perfect world where I roll up on the Watcher, get the higher strike and just slaughter him, there's a lot of what ifs to do that. And after the event, I didn't want to like say, hey, I rolled really shit against him, and but
Well, you
I,
did. I'll say it because you rolled bad against me. I mean, we played the weekend before,
yeah.
and my notoriously bad rolling seemed to have rubbed off on you for this weekend.
Well, I think a lot of it too is especially the lower points values. It's the amount of dice I'm throwing at my opponent. So like Rohan, you could just start pouring buckets of dice on your opponent when you're winning fights, or when you're getting your charges off,
Yeah.
and then you back that by the amount of might I like to pack in my Rohan armies. And when I don't have that, the list kind of just crumbled on me. It was kind of like and that's kind of how I think if like I said, if I'm going to go to another both escalation and de-escalation event, I would probably take either my Shire or take a Moria list or something where I can actually pad the numbers and have a because
a similar army to what mine was.
exactly. I would even consider playing my Isengard because even though Saruman is a big piece, you could still take a bunch of little cheap Uruk-hai or Dunland heroes and then take his main troops. So yeah, I agree. For it was just it was a culmination of things that led into the worst loss I've had in a tournament in a very long time, 3 or 4 years at least. I haven't had a loss that bad at a tournament since like Nova. Like the first Nova we went to, where I'm like, man, I just got crapped on pretty bad. even like if I lose bad, I normally get on the scorecard with some VPs, and I didn't even get a single VP that game.
You did via painting.
Touche, I did.
But when it comes to actually scoring game VPs, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But
I don't think you've been 12-0 like that in a long time.
Yeah, so that is my round 4, and I think that overall, because I played Rohan the exact same build I took to this tournament, the tournament, the weekend before, and I seemed like I learned a lot about the army, especially with how I feel the meta's shifting a little bit. I don't think it's like, I don't feel like it's gonna be. Defense of the North changed a lot of things in terms of what people are going to be bringing, what armies you're going to see a lot of, and yeah. So I had a great time. I think you ran a good tournament, Jason, and I'm looking forward to coming back for that 1,000-point event.
Well, thanks.
Here's the one you're going to go first this time.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay.
Yeah.
So round 4, I played against Everett, who was playing a Mordor Serpent Horde combo, like I talked about at the very beginning. By this point of the game, he was down to 12 models. The Witch King, Suladon. I think he had 3 or so. I think it was 3. What are they? Black Numenorian, the mounted guys. What are they?
Oh yeah,
The Knights. You know what I'm talking. Morgul Knights.
Morgul Knights.
Yeah, I think he had 3 Morgul Knights, and then the rest was split between Serpent Guard and Haradrim Raiders. So, I got rid of Assassination, and he got rid of Fog of War, which I'm actually glad he did. Again, I lost the dice roll to pick, and I figured Assassination is one that I really didn't want to play because I had the commander and a captain at that point, and then troops. And the captain was not going to be. He played smart. Suladon was his leader, so that the Witch King of Angmar could do casting and not have to worry about going poof.
Yep.
But
can I inject something real fast that I just learned last night? So they actually just did an errata. The errata that came out back in August, September.
Yeah, September.
And ring wraiths can no longer go poof by casting magic.
Really?
Yes, they cannot expand their last will point using magic. They have to lose it in combat.
Oh, I kind of like that.
Yeah, and like they explained the logic is a ring wraith, in like the movies and stuff, they were going all out trying to kill Frodo, like, chasing him down.
Yeah.
And that way people can't make their ring wraith dissipate and get quartered or broken by just casting spells.
Well, that's always been a broken part of the game, let's be honest. So I am glad that they eroded that and finally removed it.
Yeah, I saw that last night and I read that and I was like, oh, that's game changer, actually.
Yeah, it really is. So, well, that's good. That's nice to know.
Sorry, I wanted to throw that in because I heard you talk about the Witch King. Sorry.
No, I actually didn't even know that. I was tracking his will that he had, but yeah.
Was his Witch King fully loaded out with full Might Will Fate or just partially?
No, I think he had like 3 Might and then I think he had just the base 10 Will. Okay. And then one Fate maybe. I can't remember, but it was nowhere near being fully loaded.
Okay.
So, but yeah, he had 12 models, and I kind of was expecting him to do Fog of War because his entire army was mounted at that point, and he'd be able to run around and get behind me and grab terrain pieces, and there was lots to pick because we were playing on one of the Rohan boards. And no, he got rid of it, so we played Ill Met by Moonlight.
Oh yeah, I bet your crossbows love that.
Well, I only had 5 shots at that point. And, do the Haradrim Raiders have bows? I can't remember.
They can have bows. You can upgrade them with bows.
I think he had bows, but I don't.
Were they Raiders or Serpent Guard?
Well, he a mix of both. Okay, he had like 3 Serpent Guard.
Serpent Guard can. They're basically a Knight of Dol Amroth.
Yeah. They have the lance, the war spear.
Yep. But I believe Raiders can't take bows.
I can't remember if he had bows, they didn't do anything.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So we deployed. I just stood put. He moved up. I stood put again. He moved around terrain. I was able to see one guy, pop shots and killed him. He moved again. I had more shots. So I popped more shots and killed another guy or two. So my whole thought process for this game was, even with the captain and commander tag teaming together in combat, there's no way they're going to take down either the Witch King or the Suladon because of the fact that both of them can strike and I can't.
Yeah.
So my goal for the game was just to break him. I vastly outmodeled him. I had like 26 or 28 models.
Yeah.
So some asinine amount of models for 400 points.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, if I kill 7 of his models, I break him, and maybe I can get him to flee on some courage checks or something.
Yeah.
So he kind of came into a choke point, and it baited me. And unfortunately, the downside was I saw an opportunity to go in and get like 3 kills and maybe a wound or take Suladon off his horse. And it pulled me in, and I sent guys. Unfortunately, it put me in a choke point where I outnumbered him, but with the tied fight value against troops, I did a heroic combat and killed a troop. He did a strike with Suladon, so I didn't roll into Suladon. I rolled into more troops, got a couple more troop kills, but it left my commander, which was my leader, out in the open.
Yeah.
And with this being one where you really want to try and go and kill heroes, yeah, I was in a little bit of trouble there. So, I can't remember exactly what happened, but I remember he got the Witch King and Suladon against my commander.
Yeah.
Because he got priority and won the heroic roll-off. So I countercharged and peeled guys off, but I didn't peel off. I peeled off enough to keep my commander alive, but then he focused all his attacks on my other captain, which I had used to peel off one of his 2 heroes, and killed him. So that hurt me, but then I was able to counter that by basically taking all the might. It had cost him all his might by that point of the game on Suladon. I mean, this was a couple turns like we fight, he kills a few guys, then I win a roll-off or win a priority, and I turn around and kill guys. I did get him broken, like I wanted to, and he was thinking about trying to run away after he killed my captain. And if he had run away, I would have lost the game. But I won the roll-off for heroic movement and charged into Suladon, tied up the Witch King, who had been paralyzed. He had been transfixing my commander.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was actually able to get the commander into combat against Suladon, and then tie up the Witch King so he couldn't transfix me, and just threw a buttload of guys against Suladon, won the fight, killed Suladon, quartered him, and the game ended. So we both killed a hero.
Yeah.
So we both got points for that. He was broken, I was unbroken, and then I had killed his leader. So he got some points for something else. I can't remember what. I think he might have actually broken me, too. Or no, banner. I think this is one where you get a banner. I don't remember exactly.
Suladon would have been his banner.
Yeah, so maybe I didn't kill Suladon. Maybe I killed the Witch King. I think I might have killed the Witch King, because the Witch King... I killed one of the 2 heroes. However, it ended up because the final score was 8-6. I don't have the book because Dan has it, so I can't look at it.
Sounds pretty
close. But the final score was 7-5, and then with the painting bonuses, it was 8-6.
Okay.
So it was a close game, but I did get the win.
Wow. Okay.
And I kind of did a you, Joe. I sent guys into a position where I shouldn't have.
I was gonna say, sounds like a same error I made.
I got really lucky. Like my commander was down to his last wound.
Yeah, he's pretty hardy. I mean, defense 7 and 3 wounds, right? He's 3 wounds. Yeah, it's 3 wounds and 3 attack.
Yeah, I think he might have killed the commander, and that might be what got him some victory points.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not 100. Because so if we both killed a hero, I think it was like 1 point or whatever. Because I'm looking at the score and I'm trying to calculate in my head, how did he get this? Because it was 7-5.
Right.
And breaking would be, I think, 2 points just straight up, and the banner's 2 points. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Huh.
So, but it was a close game. I can't remember. It's been a few. It's been like 10 days.
Yeah, time has flown by.
But I did win the game. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, it was good. I was like, I wasn't surprised how your list played out, because I actually think that list is really good. That Assault on Helm's Deep Legendary Legion, like, I legitimately think it could be a, it's up there, like, it's up there with that, Riders of Rohan, or the new Easterling one. It's up there, like, the power. With the ballista, it's up there. But with the way you took it, is also what I think is one of its biggest strengths, is you can take, because Uruk-hai captains are no joke. They're still pretty solid.
No, there's strength 5, fight 5, defense 7 with a shield.
And with the amount of high quality troops you can take, it's like if you're versing, a Rohan or one of those kind of finesse armies, or even other shield wall armies, it's like a wet blanket. You got so many dice, so many fight 4, and then you got just enough fight 5, strength 5 with your captains in there to like really punch a hole through someone's line.
Yeah,
it's pretty solid. And with it also has the bomb bonus. I don't remember what the bomb bonus is for it, but that ballista, it's something. It's a force to be reckoned with for sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to cut Dan off because he's got to go, but I do have thoughts about the list that I can talk about later.
Okay.
After playing it for 4 games.
All right, Dan.
All right. So my last game, I versed Ashley, who's playing Ingmar. And Bernard was her leader. The Barrow White was the. Let me tell you what scenario we played. So.
Yeah.
It was either Illumination of Moonlight, Assassination, or Fog of War. Because of my low model count, I didn't want to have to separate my army like I did the previous game and to go try to capture an objective, so I kind of ruled out Fog of War right away.
That's a smart move.
And I also had some shooting, so I didn't want to limit my shooting I could do, so I also was like, okay, I don't want to do Illuminate by Moonlight. So we rolled off. She got the low dice rolls. She picked to eliminate Fog of War, and so then I chose Assassination. So naturally, my assassin had to be Gandalf, and hers had to be the Barrow White. And I pretty much sat back on my deployment on this hill and made her come to me and shot at her. So early game, I was targeting. I didn't want to shoot the Barrow with the Bard because I wanted Gandalf to do the wounds to him.
Yeah.
So I shot all my shots into birders and then shot Bard into birders, and then shot my regular troops into her archers, who were like defense 4. And she pretty much started walking up. She stopped, tried to shoot at me a little bit. Got in range of my Sorcerer's Blast with the Barrow White, so I was like, okay. So Sorcerer's blasting the Barrow White around, and
that's funny.
Yeah, and eventually she got close enough to where I was like, all right, let me move back a little bit, because at this point I had Bard with no Alfred. I had to cut Alfred out. I took the 2 girls, but it was like 7 guys in Bard's warband.
Very low model count.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I can't really make any mistakes here.
Yeah.
Eventually, I did kill the bear white with Gandalf. And I was like, okay, cool. So that's good. Got 7 VPs. So that's good. But she had this huge comeback and charged up the hill and killed one of my girls with birders. And then Bard charged him, killed Bard, and broke me. And so the game ended with a 7-5 win for me.
Nice.
So it was a good game. I pretty much did everything I had to early game, and then the swing of things, I was all right. We're Gandalf out of here. Although I guess technically the Bar White had to be her assassin, so that's good. But I still think you still get points for killing.
Yeah,
You still get
you
VPs
still
for
get
killing.
yeah, it's like 5 EPs or something.
Yeah, it's 5 BP, so it's
So,
good to.
Yeah, Gandalf got the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah.
That's pretty much my game. It's very simple. It was like I had no models. I didn't have enough models, and at that point, relying solely on Gandalf as my my dude was like, oh boy.
that sounds like my game, except you didn't have to kill the Watcher.
Yeah, I just had to kill a bear. But see, another thing I got lucky on is she had the specters, so she was trying to do, she was trying to like get like Gandalf to fail a courage check. I was like, okay, you sure? Because it's courage 7. Yeah, I was like, courage 7. She said, okay, Bard then. I was like, okay, you sure he's courage 6? So
why don't you get one of them girls to run away?
Pretty much, yeah.
She did kill one of the girls, and actually, one of the girls beat birders in a fight, though.
Yeah, what? I remember seeing that happen.
Even being unarmed.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I was like, I've never seen that. That's never happened before.
Well, it's the first time for everything.
Yep. So anyway, that was my game 3, and ended up being I guess a minor win.
Game 4.
Yep.
Game 4.
And it was a good tournament, man.
You went out on a high point at least.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I did pretty good. I feel like I enjoyed taking Gandalf for sure. He's going to go in pretty much on my Lake Town list from now on. But if we're playing another de-escalation event, probably take a different build or a different army.
Yeah, I was kind of curious when you sent me your list, because the first thing I downloaded to do the checks for was your 700 point, and I saw Bard and Percy and Henry and Siegfried and Tilda, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's a pretty standard Lake Town, Survivors of Lake Town list. Gandalf, what the fuck is he thinking? So
yeah, I had to take Gandalf the whole time.
Yeah, and then as I went down, I was like, dang, he's really going to be struggling, because you were in the low teens by 400, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and Lake Town is kind of, they always have a high mob count. Their infantry's not bad, honestly, but definitely power in numbers.
Yeah,
wins any game.
Yeah, I mean, they're at the end of the day, they're orcs, profile wise. So they're courage 3.
If you don't have enough of them, it's going to hurt you.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, yeah, you won. That's what matters there for round 4.
I won round 4, lost round 3. I feel like if I had versed Todd, I feel like if I versed Todd at first round, I might have beat him. That being said, I would not have wanted to verse Josh at round 3.
Well, in round 4, he had nothing but the 2 bears, so that would have been no fun either.
Yeah, you basically were forced to either kill one bear or the other just to break him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had fun. Like I said, the 2 tournament weekends in a row taught me a lot about how, because I haven't traveled to a DC tournament, or I haven't really gone to the tournament since last year, and just seeing all these new profiles that have come out working on the table now, it's like, okay, Defense of the North really changed a lot of stuff in terms of what people are bringing. Seeing some of these lists that are starting to show up, like, of course, you're always going to see like an Erebor Reclaim the List or a
Iron Hills.
Iron Hills or Army of Thror. You're always going to see those, but just some of the stuff that is being taken now, it's like, okay, I see if you want to go to a tournament and try and place, I see like a lot. You're gonna have to bring some utility. You're gonna have to bring some fight 5. You're gonna need some really hardy fight 6 heroes probably. I think.
Well, you've always needed stuff like that for events. It's just that now the meta has changed. That is the one good thing I think. So this whole source book with the small release, big release, once a year or once every like 12 to 18 months is really good for GW because it keeps the game alive. It's annoying from a consumer's point of view because of the fact that you have to spend more money to keep up to date. But it also, and this is the biggest thing, is it changes, like what's popular, what is and that's, you look at our society as a whole. Our society as a whole has so become such a thing where it's like, what's the newest fad? And so GW has, I don't know if they consciously done this, but they have at least subconsciously tapped into how society is working with, hey, the newest fad right now is having the Dragon Emperor, which means to counter it, you're going to have elves, which, oh, by the look, there's a new elf profile or a new elf model that was just released to go with that. So
yeah, well,
I think that's what's really changing. It's not so much like the game's changing because the core is the same. It's just here's some new models and everybody's like, oh, it's the newest thing.
Well,
So
it's exactly what happened when Iron Hills came out. When we went
yeah,
to
exactly.
but like this too,
And
cause
good to bad.
I feel the next supplement is going to be a Last Alliance book. Like to me, there's no other way around it now. Like with them coming
I
out,
hope so.
with them coming out with the plastic Elrond and the Glorfindel, there's like to me, if they don't do that, then it's kind of a big head scratcher. And I feel like once that book comes out, the meta is going to shatter in terms of what people are bringing. Because you're talking about elves, you're talking about Numenorians, you're talking about a lot of Fight 6 heroes, you're talking about possibly some crazy Mordor stuff with Sauron. So I think once that happens, it's going to be really interesting for us, people who go to tournaments and want to play and just generally see. Now, in terms of like, none of those armies actually interest me in terms of playing them, but if some of the stuff like that Numenor can do, I would be maybe interested in playing a Numenor army.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, I just sold my Numenor army, so I won't be playing that anytime soon.
So yeah, that's kind of my thought process. I do think we'll probably see it early next year. I thought maybe we'd see it December this year, but probably next year, early next year. So allegedly they were going to have a showcase at Nova, but at last minute the brand manager couldn't come to do the presentation. So
that's all right. Could be worse things.
Yep, we just gotta wait and see.
Pretty much. To go on your point about how we haven't done a lot of events, so this is actually my first event I've played in this year. I did the 1,000-point event that I hosted in February, but I have not played in any event. And this is actually the first time pretty much all year that I've. Well, no, I had a couple other times, but it's the first time I've played like competitively.
Yeah.
So I had a couple weekends where I had some friends come over and we did some battle reports. Josh and Richie, and then Joe, you showed up for one of them.
Yeah.
But there was never an event where I was like, okay, this is an army I'm trying to go and win with. And this wasn't an event where I was trying to go in and go win with an army. I just wanted to take something different than what I was planning. Because I had been planning to take Rohan as well. But you played it, and then so did Chris. And I was like, I don't want there to be 3 Riders of Phaeton army in a 12-man event. That's just boring.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
I have a lot of Isengard, so I took this Isengard list because it made sense. It made the most sense when it came for an attrition event. But hopefully, I can get to some more events because after playing this past weekend or whatever it is, definitely has wetted the whistle and made me want to go throw some more dice.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. 2 weekends in a row, and I really missed because it was like, oh man, I got a tournament this weekend. Then it was like Monday, oh, I got a tournament this weekend too. It was like really nice, and just kind of there being in terms of us traveling, there's been a drought. There hasn't been a shortage of tournaments. We just haven't gone to any, and
I think it's because we've all been busy.
Yeah, but it's kind of made me think, hey, I would like to keep doing this and not take that break in between.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was an opportunity. There were a couple opportunities this year. Unfortunately, just because I'm not looking to travel very far for events. There's enough communities just here in the Carolinas, and then not too far away from Charlotte or from North Carolina going to Virginia, where if I want to travel at most 6 hours, I can get to at least 4 different places. But like the South Carolina guys, Evan and David, they did an event in June, but it was a Father's Day themed event, so they really hamstrung the armies you could take. And to me, that didn't sound at all fun or interesting when basically there are only about 7 different armies you could play from.
Yeah.
So if you have eight players, you're going to have a multiple on the list. I was like, yeah, I'm not interested in that. No offense to them. Like the idea, didn't like the
rules.
They should have done some. Yeah, they should have done something where there was a bonus if you did it.
Yeah,
and not mandated it.
That's one thing I made a video of a while ago. When you start talking about almost entire collections that you own that you can't take to an event, to me that's when I'm like, I'm not sure if I want to. It's not that I don't want to support them. I'm not sure if I want to try and go to that event, because it's like I would like to go to your event, but when you're talking about 3 or 4 of my armies that I own and play a lot of that I can't take all of a sudden, it's kind of interesting.
Because it's kind of rude to be. It is rude to be like, well, you came to me, I'm not going to go to you to support you. You're going to try.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is I was going to try, but then when I turn around and it's like, okay, well, there's the only army that I had that fit into their list was Minas Tirith, and that was taking
Denethor.
I'm sorry. Denethor and Thormir, or Denethor and Faramir, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. It's just not a list I'm interested in playing.
Yeah,
so I have to actually be interested in playing to go play.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. There's been a few events like that.
Yeah, so that canceled me out of that event. And then the Fayetteville guys usually do 2 events a year, which they have. They did one in the spring and they're doing one in November. But both of their events this year are 2-day events. And while Fayetteville's not all that far away at 3 hours, that means I still have to pay for a hotel if I want to stay overnight. Where if it's a 1-day event on a Saturday, I can drive there and drive back in 1 day.
Yeah,
I'll be exhausted. I'm literally not going to do a damn thing on Sunday. But it's kind of hard to be like, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and shell out, $100 for gas, and then $100 for a room, and then $100 again for gas. And it's like, I don't really want to do that. And then we all were going to go to one in Raleigh. Was it Raleigh?
It's like Durham. It's like, right there.
Yeah, Durham. Okay. Yeah. But, I mean, and we were all ready to go, too. And then unfortunate circumstances came up.
They're actually hosting another one in January. Yes. I actually already signed up for it. It's on the Carolinas page.
Yeah, I approved it. Yeah. Okay. I think it's another 2-day event. Is it in January?
Yeah, so with all 4 rounds being done, Jason, since you hosted so graciously, I should say, would you like to talk about the final scoring for the event?
Yeah, I can cover that real quick.
Okay.
So we had the 6 teams. Eladin Elr here is Dan and Joe. Grizzly Trolls was Ashley and Josh. Orient Express was David and Evan. Unholy Alliance was Chris and Richie. Spoon Peddlers was Todd and Everett. And Brandy Bucks on Us was me and
Michael,
who was my teammate. We were teammates by chance because of the fact that both of our partners dropped out last minute. And we talked a little bit about his army earlier on. He was the
Rivendell.
Yeah, Last Alliance army.
Oh yeah, last
So,
month.
so Dan and Joe, you guys just barely missed podium, coming in at 4th. Third place was Chris and Richie. Their little unholy alliance of Rohan and Moria, which was unexpected, but they were able to secure 3rd place, so good for them. Round of applause. Second place was the Spoon Peddlers of Everett and Todd, and I think they definitely earned it. It sounds like all of us played at least one of them, if not both of them, and they were good players. They're good players. They're tough opponents.
Yeah, they definitely didn't. They didn't earn the name Spoon Peddlers for sure.
No, they went with that name because they thought they were going to come in last place and get the wooden spoon, but they definitely did not. And then first place was Mike and me with the Brandy Bucks on Us team. And we actually both went undefeated. So we scored a perfect 8-0 score.
Okay.
Very impressive,
Yeah,
actually.
it is.
Well, I mean, it's cool, but at the same time, it's like in a regular event, it wouldn't have happened. Only one of us would have been in
There would
any.
have been one. Yeah, there would have been one undefeated because you guys probably would have versed the way end.
Yeah, we would have actually played against each other in round 3 because by round 3 there were only like 3 2-0 guys left, I think, or 2 2-0 guys, if that. So, but from a standpoint of if it was an individual event, Josh, even though he and Ashley came in last place, unfortunately, with Ashley being new, she kind of took them down a little bit. But I think she's going to learn and she's going to come back. And I would not be surprised to see them push for podium or at least top 4 at the 1,000-point event. Because Josh took 3rd place if you're doing straight scoring with his 2-1-1 record. And his loss should have been a win if you don't do the bonus for victory points. Yeah.
He was telling me about that.
Yeah. So he should have been 3-0-1 because his loss would have become a tie, and his tie would have become a win.
Yep.
So, yeah, that Beorning's Legendary Legion, nothing to laugh at.
Definitely not. But yeah, no, it's a good tournament. It got me excited to maybe experiment with some new armies, especially for the 1,000-point event, and I can't wait for it.
Same here. I'm hoping to play again. I need a partner.
Well, if Joe does as bad as he did this one, I'll be your partner.
Shots fired, Joe.
I kid.
Shots fired, Joe.
All right. So please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. And of course, enjoy your Middle Earth hobby.
Bye, guys.